Kawaida unajua manyumba kama hii ya ghorofa mingi kama hii imejengwa pahali pamoja, watu wanaona kule Europe, watu wanaona kule Marekani, lakini live sasa tunaiona hapa Mukuru, si ndio? Na niliwaeleza ya kwamba tutabadilisha Kenya, na hivi ndivyo kubadilisha Kenya. Haihitaji miujiza, inahitaji bidii na mipango na watu wenye nguvu kama nyinyi, si ndio bwana? Si nyinyi ndio mtabadilisha hii Kenya ama? Hii tulianza juzi, hata haijafika miaka miwili ndio hii iko hapa. Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize kama
in this world where climate change and all of these things are major factors, we can see Kabarak University taking a lead in showing how to conserve, use what God has given us in plenty and turn that into power and energy to power not just this university, but to power industry, to power innovation, IT, and when we look at AI especially, all these are technologies that are going to completely revolutionize how we do, how we work, how we move, how we think.
2026, it gives me great pleasure to announce that we will commission the first phase at a key campus providing reliable, clean power for uninterrupted learning, discovery, and innovative impact. This reinforces our leadership ambitions in Africa in sustainable education as a pioneer of this nature in sub-Saharan Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Patricia Waiua, and this is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
We urge decisive action on debt distress and progress towards United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation. We also underscore our call for a UN Convention in sovereign debt.
According to us, we are doing very well in matters of ministry, and I'm persuaded in my heart that even the president is not aware of the details in the bill. Hiyo bili haijatengenezwa na watu ambao wanaelewa Mungu wa taifa la Kenya. Ni sisi kama wachungaji, we have the capacity to regulate ourselves, to manage our affairs.
Tungeomba kwanza kabla amchatuletea bili, tafadhali mjue kama ni nani katikati yenu ambaye anaongozwa na nguvu za giza, kwa sababu kila mara kanisa inaingiliwa na hizo bili mnazotengeneza kwetu, wakati mwingine zinakuja zinapotea. Ni kwamba kuna mahali mmeruhusu nguvu za giza kuongoza, maybe kwa mawaziri ama wabunge wetu.
Serikali kitu ingefanya, ikiona inataka kuingilia kanisa, ingetupatia mandate so we can follow up to wapatie information, kwa sababu sisi ndio tuko ground, tuambie kwamba ni kanisa gani haifanyi vizuri ama ni kanisa gani inafanya vizuri, kwa sababu doctrine iko wazi katika Biblia. Na kama ni watu ambao wanaonekana kwamba hawafanyi vizuri, serikali chukua huyo mtu. Kama una uwezo wa kumstaki unaweza kumstaki, kama una uwezo wa kufanya kitu unafanya, lakini usiingilie makanisa yote. Kuna watu wameseeka, Chokaya amekufa akiwa anahubiri injili.
It's always democratic movement. It is a movement, and movements are there to stay. ODM has got a reason why it's there. It is not any child's game.
ODM has been strengthened so that when we join forces, we become a very strong movement that will win in round one without any shade of doubt. I know Yakamami says ODM will field a candidate, but in the broad-based arrangement, we need to support a candidate who will win. We need to support President Ruto for
the outstanding arrears from the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreements are now being settled as agreed. The first installment of the 7.7 billion of 3.8, which was due to be settled by the 31st of December 2025, has already been paid.
nyumba zitakazojengwa hapa hatujaelezwa, hasa environmental impact assessment ya NEMA haijatuzungumzia kuhusu vipi mjengo utakuwa hapa, vipi waste management itafanyika. Ni nyumba
bado Watamu tuko na ardhi nyingi. Kama serikali najua mwezi shindwa kununua ardhi. Tuko na maeneo kama vile Jakaranda, Kanani, Uyombo, Dabaso, Gede.
It brings me great sorrow to see what is being planned right in front of a focal point where the tourists first arrive in Watamu, expecting a lovely beach holiday with lovely people, and all they're going to see is a block of ugly-looking flats. What a shame, what an absolute shame.
Watupokonya ardhi, wavurushe watu bila kufuata kuangalia sheria.
Wengi hapa wamelelewa hapa, wamezaliwa hapa. Swali moja nataka kuuliza. Wenye watu wamekaa hapo for all those years, kuna ile watu hata kama kuna kuhamishwa, kuna ile watu wanaambiwa wajipange.
Na isitoshe naye sahi hatuna masaa ya kuhama, hakuna. Sisi hatuhami, tunakaa hapa kama hivyo. Serikali watusaidie land ambayo watupee land ambayo tunakaa.
Like now the decongestion we did today is between for the months of October up to December, and we got a total number of about 350 applications or reports on various inmates who are here, and after going through the exercise we've been able to release about exactly 86 of them. Others are going for CSOs, others are going for probation, and others we commuted their sentences.
We want to urge all speed limiter vendors to make sure that they comply with the law. Their responsibility is to ensure that the speed limiters are functioning.
This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
Competency-based education and training will be transitioning to universities in the year 2029. As part of strategic forward thinking, our universities like this one should adequately anticipate and prepare for these transitions. We've already achieved key milestones, such as the alignment of the teacher education programs with the competency-based education framework, and will continue to build the capacity of university staff on the competency-based education.
For the best hip-hop old school hits.
Check out my back and forth, back mystery unraveled. As we
88.8 Nairobi. This is Radio Generation.
The outstanding arrears from the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreements are now being settled as agreed. The first installment of the 7.7 billion of 3.8, which was due to be settled by the 31st of December 2025, has already been paid.
This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation. Previously on the most talked about morning show in town, the People's Breakfast.
But one thing I have to assure the public, the panel is not going to change the law.
I'm really proud. I mean, the KDF stands tall regionally and internationally, and that's why you have the favor that you see in terms of them being, in the forefront.
A time will come. Where is Saddam Hussein? Where is Libya, Gaddafi? Where is everybody?
The People's Breakfast, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is Generation Report, your weekly news roundup show on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
A very good evening and welcome to the Generation Report today, being the 20th of December 2025. Like we've taken a whole year up to today or so far. So this is the Generation Report, and today is a special day because today we shall be reviewing 2025. Yani, it shall be 2025 in review. There is a lot that has happened, by the way, internationally. We are talking of regionally. We are also talking of nationally, and even at local levels. A lot has really happened this year. So tonight we shall be summarizing. We shall be looking at 2025 in summary. We are going to look at the biggest stories that happened in the course of 2025. Kuanzia pale January mpaka sasa hivi, a lot has happened. We are talking about politics. We are talking about other topical issues affecting different countries and regions. Therefore, you got to stay tuned in on 88.8. That is Radio Generation here in Nairobi, 90.7 Radio Generation in Mombasa and its environs. And also, those who want to follow us online, it is rgk.co.ke. There are some people also who want to follow us on our social media platforms. Please do so, because you're so much welcome to follow the conversations right here. That is on our X platform. That is Radio Gen KE. On Instagram, Radio Gen KE. Even on Facebook also, Radio Gen KE. You want also to follow us on YouTube. Please do so. That is Radio Generation Kenya. That is on our YouTube platform. You'll be able to follow the conversations here. Remember, you will be watching. You will also be listening at the same time. A lot, like I've just said, has happened in the course of 2025, and we shall be looking at them. We shall be reviewing at all these big stories. First of all, we need to note that politics and global conflict dominated 2025. We are talking of what we've been seeing. We've seen countries fighting. We have also seen politics all over. Talk of the US, talk of Africa. We have Tanzania. We have different countries seeing politics dominating in every area. And of course, this year was shaped by major political shifts. We are talking of wars. We are talking of security crisis worldwide. We are also talking of Africa trying to push that global visibility this year in the different meetings that African countries really attended this year. We will be also looking at the youth pressure that we have witnessed across different countries, and especially here in Africa. We are talking of Morocco. We have seen the Gen Z revolution also in the country that is in Kenya. We have also seen the Gen Z revolution also in different countries. Just the other day, we saw with Tanzania after the election, the presidential elections that happened the other day, they were disputed. Therefore, we shall also be looking at that. We are talking of climate shocks because we are talking of the effects and the impacts of climate change, and we've seen what the countries have really been up to in terms of climate change. We've seen the push by African countries trying to push with the international community because African countries feel that this major shift, these major changes that we are witnessing in terms of climate, a majority has been caused by the activities of the international community here in Africa. Therefore, they've been pushing for action, for climate action, and a lot. We shall also be looking at economic strains here in Africa. We are talking of Africa's rising debt. Different countries here in Africa, a majority of the countries here in Africa, of course, they have been depending on loans. They've been depending on grants. They've been depending on funding from the international community, and especially from Europe and also from the United States in terms of loans and so forth. Therefore, those are some of the stories that we shall be looking at. Of course, I will be joined by our panelists, the different panelists that will be joining the show tonight. Therefore, we shall be looking at all these things together with them. And they're yet to arrive, of course, but they will be making their way here. Therefore, stay tuned. This is the Generation Report right here at Radio Generation.
Wale majamaa wengine hawana mpango yoyote. Kazi yao ni ukabila na chuki. Akili yao inaishia kwa kugawanya shares ya serikali. Ati mnasikia ati wanaume 5 wanaenda kuketi chini ati wanagawa serikali ya Kenya, ati wewe chukua 50%, wewe chukua 10%, wewe chukua 20%. Mimi nataka niwaambie wale, serikali si yenu bwana. Mimi nawauliza ndugu watu wa Samburu, msikubali tusomeshe watoto wa Kenya na watoto wa hapa Samburu wabaki nyumbani. Tusikubali kuletewa siasa ya migawanyiko na ukabila na ubaguzi. Sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja. Na mimi kama kiongozi wa taifa letu la Kenya, kazi yangu ni kuunganisha jamii zote za Kenya. Wakenya wote kutoka kaunti zote, kutoka madini zote, kwa sababu Mungu anajua ni kwa sababu gani sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja, taifa la Kenya. Tunaelewana jameni? Na mambo ya maendeleo pia nitahakikisha hakuna sehemu ya Kenya inawachwa nyuma. Kila sehemu tuweze kugawa maendeleo sawa sawa.
We are in bad shape. Ni nini mimi nataka kufanya? My vision is to reset, restore and rebuild Kenya under ukatiba. That is my philosophy. Ukatiba, constitutionalism. Watu wengine wameniuliza ati philosophy yako ni gani? Nikawaambia yangu ni ukatiba. Constitutionalism na mimi ni mukatiba. Mumeelewa hivyo? Hiyo ni kusema tufanye kazi kulingana na katiba yetu.
In this world where climate change and all of these things are major factors, we can see Kabarak University taking a lead in showing how to conserve, use what God has given us in plenty and turn that into power and energy to power not just this university, but to power industry, to power innovation, IT, and when we look at AI especially, all these are technologies that are going to completely revolutionize how we do, how we work, how we move, how we think.
2026, it gives me great pleasure to announce that we will commission the first phase at a key campus providing reliable, clean power for uninterrupted learning, discovery, and innovative impact. This reinforces our leadership ambitions in Africa in sustainable education as a pioneer of this nature in sub-Saharan Africa.
2025, Kenya experienced a disturbing rise in 1. State repression, oppression of citizens, and suppression of voice. Excessive use of force, targeted attacks on civil society, on journalists, on activists, on human rights defenders. Shrinking civic space, systemic impunity by state institutions, and as documented in the People Power and Attack Report 2025 that was launched yesterday, 9th December by Civicus, Kenya Human Rights Commission and CFF, it additionally, unfortunately, categorizes Kenya as being in the oppressed state of human rights and democracy.
This dream, it is about our commitment as a country. Let us for once believe that in ourselves. The president has a vision and he has spoken to it. The government has a vision which the president has elaborated about 10 years. But you see, achieving first world status, you can do it faster than even 10 years, depending on how you are committed. But if you are not so committed again, it will take us a while.
We have taken notice of this matter. We are seized with it and have asked Wakili Njirundegwa on behalf of the residents to make sure that this eviction does not happen. And if it happens, especially during this time when residents are clearly thinking about Christmas holidays, it will be an affront against the basic rights of the residents of this estate.
And the public is concerned why we re-advertise before we know the outcome, publicly know the outcome of the interviews that were done. We believe strongly, and because we are a university, we believe strongly on merit, that any recruitment done in the public sector, in the public service, should be on the basis of merit, the basis of professionalism, not the basis of nepotism, not the basis of ethnicity.
tunachota maji kutoka mbali, tunaenda Mikamini huko karibu na Bamba, kilomita kama 12 hivi kuchota maji, kwa sababu hapa Msarani kwetu maji yamekauka.
Maji huwa haiishi, inashikana, lakini sai venye mvua haikunyesha ile kubwa ni kama imefeli. Kwa hivyo tunaomba sai maji tunaifuata umbali wa kilomita 15 kupata maji, na venye tunaona kiangazi ni kama itazidi kuendelea. Kwa hivyo tunaomba hata kama ni kupata zile watabuza ziwe zitatusaidia kwa hilo jambo hilo.
Hapa tunashukuru ni kwa sababu ukame umetufinya sana. Mvua haikunyesha, hakuna maji. Wananchi hapa wanategemea kilimo na hawakuwa na mazao kwa mashamba yao. Na hata kwa wakati huu pia hawataraji kupata chochote kwa mashamba yao. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wahisani popote mlipo, mwe mkikumbuka kuna hii eneo iko na shida kwa ajili ya kwamba watu wametegemea tu kilimo ya mvua kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, halafu na mifugo ndo mapato.
Welcome back to the Generation Report right here at Radio Generation, your favorite station. Of course, we shall be looking at the biggest stories that happened in the course of the week, as I had just introduced. And therefore, I will start as we are waiting for my panelists, because they're saying there's a lot of traffic along Thika Road. I don't know what is happening. Somebody in Thika Road, please tell us along that road what is not happening just as you get to town. Something seems to be happening. There is a lot of traffic there, according to one of my panelists, and the others will be joining. And before they join, by the way, uko inje, we would like to know what are some of these big stories that you remember that happened in the course of 2025. A lot. What are some of those stories that you remember that happened in the course of 2025? You can text us on our social media platforms, Radio Gen KE, that is on YouTube, and also on Facebook, as well as on X platform. You can write that to us. What are some of these big stories that you can remember around 2025, even as we continue with our conversation right here? Watu wa Mombasa kule pwani, jamani, mambo gani mnakumbuka? Habari gani zile kuu ambazo mnakumbuka ambazo zilifanyika mwaka wa 2025, ili tukaweze kuziangalia kwa pamoja ndani ya The Generation Report tonight, because it is 2025 in review. My name is Patricia Wayua. Ukipenda pia unaweza kuniita Trisha Wayua. Therefore, I'm going to start off as we continue, or as we wait for the panelists. And internationally, by the way, a lot happened. And starting with what happened in the USA, there's something that happened as the year was starting, and it's about the Southern California wildfires that happened. It took around 24 days near Los Angeles. You can remember, whereby that one people died, and of course there was a lot of economic losses. And they said that there was estimation around 50 billion US dollars were lost through those wildfires. I mean, if you can reflect back and check, you'll see there's something that happened as the year was starting in the US, and it is something that made everybody worry, because we have Kenyans who have relatives over there. We have also other countries who have their relatives working in the US, and this really caught the attention of the entire world. And of course, people were like, because people believe America is a superpower, and of course they believed that this is something that could have been contained within the shortest time possible, or period possible. But you're talking about 24 days. 24 days, a fire burning down everything. Yeah, so that is something that happened. It is something that is worth noting. We are also talking of the swearing in Donald Trump, the U.S. president, was sworn in for a second non-consecutive term. Because basically, most of the time we see these leaders being somebody taking power consecutively. Maybe if we are talking of 2 terms, we see most of them going for the 2 terms consecutively. But here we saw Donald Trump being the first president, especially in the US, to be sworn in for a second non-consecutive term. And of course the coming in, the election of Donald Trump to the presidency of the US made a lot of people really feared. People feared his rule because of what, of course, people witnessed before. And therefore, this year, when he was being sworn in, especially African countries really were worried because we saw the kind of orders that he was coming in with early in January. So we are talking of the funding that was cut short. And I remember a majority of African leaders and especially African presidents really getting worried, and of course people went back to the table. People sat down and they were like, okay, this is just a beginning. What happens? So that is the time most of these presidents called on for self-reliance in terms of economically. This funding that we've been relying on from these other countries, like the Western countries like America, this is something that really made people sit down and think again. And then it came to a realization that Africa has got what it takes. I remember hearing most of these leaders, especially like, for example, the former Kenyan president, Uhuru Kenyatta. I remember him talking about saying that we have now to start relying on ourselves. And of course, that is the time when I had different people discussing about the wealth that we have as African countries, the labor that is available in African countries, the resources, the natural resources that we have in African countries, the climate that we are talking about in African countries. And it was so interesting realizing that we are able to depend on ourselves. We are able to rely on ourselves as a continent and even as countries. Something worth noting in the swearing in of Donald Trump, the U.S. president, was his speech. I remember him saying that this is a time to make America great. Make America healthy again. And this, of course, called for policy changes, and a lot really happened around the swearing in or the coming in of the current president of the United States of America. Of course, there was a lot of reversing of some of the policies that were made during the previous administration. We are talking of the Biden era policies. There were a lot of policies that, of course, Donald Trump, the current president, really reversed, and of course it was a challenge to so many other countries. Again, we this year, of course, there was the January ceasefire of the Gaza Israel fight or war. Therefore, we saw at the start of the year there was that ceasefire, which was brokered by Trump envoy Steve Witkoff. And of course, the fight or the war resumed again around March there after some Israeli offensive. We saw that. And again, there has been a second ceasefire that was reached just the other day. That is in October, just the other day, 2 months ago. We are talking of, we saw what Donald Trump did. And of course, that is what is in effect right now as we speak in Gaza. We are talking about that Gaza conflict. So that is what is existing right now. Again, there is the Ukraine war diplomacy. This now reminds me of the meeting of the Ukrainian president pamoja na Donald Trump, President Zelensky. We are talking of Zelensky meeting with Donald Trump at the Oval Office, whereby we saw that the two, there was some disagreement. I remember kulikuwa na kujibizana pale hivi, and then now the US president felt that the Ukrainian president did not appreciate enough what the US had done to the country in terms of assisting in the war between Ukraine and the Russian countries. So of course the relations later were repaired, and of course new peace talks are still underway around those two countries. Again, there is also Israel-Iran escalation, whereby there were some summer airstrikes which were exchanged over Iran's nuclear program. And of course, US launched Operation Midnight, sometimes there, of course, striking 3 Iranian enrichment sites. And this did not, of course, sit right with a majority of the countries in that region, and also in other countries across the globe. Therefore, Pentagon said that Iran's nuclear program was set back at least 2 years. Of course, we are also looking at this year the death of Pope Francis. Those are some of the big stories that are worth noting. If you can remember the death of the Pope Francis, and of course the coming in of a new Pope, and that is the time when we heard of the conclave. That is the moment that we heard about the conclave, which later in our country became a local vocabulary in our country, because I remember the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga also calling on for a conclave in our country. Yeah. So it was quite interesting. So after the death of the Pope, of course, there came in another Pope. Of course, a Pope who is a first American Pope. Yeah, quite interesting. And of course, a lot, one thing I came to realize is that the Catholic... the Catholic religion, of course, it's like... because it really affected politics. They somehow it related to politics and other topical issues across the globe. So it was something that was a global, that called for global attention. Yes. So there's also this story about the mass deportation campaign in the US. Where history, deportation, of course, did not sit well. And this, of course, happened after the taking in power of the current president, Donald Trump. So a lot happened. We also will also touch on something to do with the U.S. immigration restrictions. Of course, they were expanded with Trump halting some of these countries' immigration applications. Countries like Afghanistan, countries from that region, a majority of them having their immigration applications cancelled and also halted. And also those people seek asylum, of course, in that country from the third world countries. Of course, they were barred from going to the US. And as we speak right now, we are also talking of the cancellation of all the cancellation of the green cards. Mambo ni mengi sana, especially with the US. So those are some of the big international stories that we had, because the green card, of course, is quite important because it is affecting many people, not only here in our country. We have so many people migrating to the US, by the way, because people feel that the US is like a kind of some heaven. Yeah, so you'll realize that a majority of migrants, a majority of third world citizens or people migrating or applying for these green cards so that they can be able to get an opportunity to go to the US. But right now, as we speak, there is actually not a cancellation. The right word is suspension. Yeah, the right word will be suspension. So there has been that suspension. So kama wewe ulikuwa umeapply a green card ya kwenda US, there is a problem. So right now I see one of my guests has already arrived as we wait for the rest to arrive. I hear there is a lot of traffic. I don't know what is happening. I said if you are along Thika Road, you can be able to tell us what is happening in that along that road. So right now I have with me Fanyamambo Kinuthia. Yeah, Fanyamambo Kinuthia. How are you?
Very good evening to you. I'm well. Mimi sijapatana na jam.
Oh, I know where you come from. That route, hakuna traffic per se. Okay, but yes. Kuna some areas, some pockets of traffic in some
kidogo
areas.
Tu hapa Prestige. Mimi nilikuwa ground. So mimi ni mwanasiasa.
Yes.
So wazee wa Dagoretti walikuwa na mbuzi ya end of year. In fact, I tried telling them I'm coming here. They're like, boss, the party has just started.
Oh.
But we had a commitment to come.
Yes.
So nimekuja nikinuka nyama ya mbuzi ya Dagoretti.
I hope haijaisha. From here, mimi nakufuata.
Labda nikupeleke, lakini sasa
from here nakupe
it's a men's only
thing.
It's just the men.
Hakuna mbuzi wa mama.
Hiyo walikuwa, unajua it's a chama for men.
Okay.
So they meet as men. We talk as men. Unajua for a long time wanaume wako wanaongeleshana. They never used to share.
Chama, by the way, they were left for the women. And women did a lot through the chamas. So now wanaume mumegundua kwamba chama ni muhimu.
No, for us, we've been meeting as men. It's just that we never shout about it.
Okay.
We've been talking. Unajua sisi tukimit lazima kambuzi tunachinja. We share love. We share our commitment to building our Dagoretti. So, and of course, now you get their blessings. Wanakwambia kama wewe tunaona unatosha kuwa mbunge, kwa hivyo uko na baraka zetu. So it was a beautiful thing.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Yes. So right here we are seated with Dagoretti South.
Next MP Dagoretti South.
Wow,
incoming,
wow,
yes.
amazing.
Yes.
So I had just already, I had already started the conversation around the biggest stories that happened in the course of this year. Internationally, regionally, we are also looking at nationally and even at local levels. Politically, economically, a lot has happened. So we just highlighting and just giving them a different perspective, or even reminding the listener and the viewer of the things that maybe they forgot about, or maybe they didn't get a chance to follow or to watch or even to listen to. So I had just started, I pointed out that of course the year was dominated by politics and global conflicts all over. Yeah, all over. And then again, I also pointed on the issue of African countries trying to push for that global visibility. I've talked about the youth pressures in terms of the protests that we've been witnessing across different countries in the world. And of course, climate shocks, and what different countries are really doing, pushing to ensure that there is there is a solution to that. And of course, economic strain. We are talking of many African countries surviving on loans. We're talking of a high levels of debt across different countries. I also touched on the international part of it. I had looked at the Southern California wildfires in the USA. The impact that it was a global story, because we have so many of our people in the US working, and of course the expectation that US is a superpower, and the expectation that with such kind of a fire that took for 24 days, around 24 days, with 31 deaths, and of course the big losses in terms of property and even economical in general. And then I also talked about Donald Trump's coming in, taking power, what this really meant to especially African countries. and not only African countries. We've seen so many other countries really depending on the US, and therefore the coming in of Donald Trump really affected a majority of these countries. Of course, you're gonna give me your submissions around that, and then there is also the Gaza conflict with the Israel, the Palestine or whatever fight. How Trump was able to negotiate for that ceasefire, which is still now in existence. Of course, there is a previous one which failed earlier in the year, and then there is also the Ukraine war. We saw the exchange that was between the president of Ukraine with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump feeling like nikama huyu anamudharau. I think you saw that kind of an exchange. And then the Israel-Iran war also. Then the death of Pope. What really this meant, because I didn't know that the Catholic, is it religion, is kind of, it's like it's a government. It's a whole government with politics and so forth. A lot of things really happening within that religion. And then there's also the mass deportation and the US immigration restrictions, which we are still experiencing right now. So I'm going to give you an opportunity maybe to say something around all that. Then now we can come back to Africa. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you. That's a handful. I wouldn't even know where to begin and where not to begin. Mm-hmm. But maybe we can pick out one or two things. The first one is the wildfires in the US.
Yes.
It was an unfortunate thing. Disasters happen to everybody. It's about how you deal with them and how you handle them. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, moving on swiftly to the death of the Pope.
Yeah.
They are human. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
Death has a way of reminding us that all of us one day tutakuwa car number one. Nasikia tutaongozwa na car number one, and then that will happen for each one of us.
Yes.
So it's just a question of what you do between life and the day when you leave this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing I heard you mention was about something that piqued my attention really, and it's disappearing.
The president, Donald Trump.
Yes. Now Trump is president of the United States of America. For the longest time, we've been thinking of a president of the US for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the Americans had always wanted a president of the United States for them.
Not for the whole world.
A person who is focused on the unique challenges of the normal American citizen. And one of them is the threat to their own sovereignty. I've heard Kenyans here saying, hey, wa Burundi ni wengi sana, hey, wa Ethiopia wanapewa ID, hey, wa Somali wamekuja sana, sijui wa Congolese wamejaa huku. That is what Americans feel about us. The way you come and see, hey, hii duka ni ya mtu wa kutoka Congo, and is doing so well. That's how they feel when they see a Kenyan doing very well in the US. Also, there are certain things that certain countries believe in. Yesterday in the morning, I just landed from Germany, and I had gone there at the invite of Kenyans living in Germany, just to celebrate Jamhuri with them. It was a very great honor. And I can tell you, a normal German, a normal right-thinking German, will not cross the road when the traffic lights are red for pedestrians, no matter what you do. Hata kama hakuna gari, a right-thinking German stands and waits for the traffic lights to go green for pedestrians. That's when he crosses. And when you go there as a foreigner, mimi nilikuwa naumwa, hakuna gari huku, hakuna gari huku.
Unaniambia nisimame.
You know, sababisha vuka. And then I wouldn't, because I felt that this is their way. Problem is, the people who disobey those traffic laws most of the time are foreigners. And that happens across the board in very many countries, where foreigners go and you disrespect the way of life, the culture, the belief system, and the conduct of the ordinary civilian in that country. And that makes them hate you as a foreigner. When you go there as a foreigner, try as much as possible to fit in, to appreciate their culture, to appreciate who they are, to respect how they live their lives, and to fit in. The problem is we go there and want to, nini. I took a bus between Stuttgart and Berlin. It's a 6-hour drive in a bus. And there was no bump for 6 hours. No bump.
6
whatsoever.
hours.
No bump. Akuna. That thing doesn't exist.
Give that to a Kenyan.
No accident. Where it says 100, the bus slows to 100. Where it says it's open speed, the bus goes up to 140. It's not like those buses don't speed. But then an accident is a story they hear. It would become big news if it happened. And you know their roads are mixed with railways. So where sometimes kuna train inafika. So where they are supposed to stop.
They stop.
They stop. So what I'm trying to say is when you see Trump chasing out foreigners, it's because you people have become a thorn in the flesh. And he has actually picked out a community I won't mention here that has got no regard for any rules of any country wherever they go. Even those from that community who've come to this country, you see the things they do. So we have to get to a place where we say, before we say Trump is being unfair in kicking out foreigners and saying that these people should go, ask yourself, how are those people behaving? In Japan, if you go to Japan today and you go to a restaurant and by accident you forget your wallet or your purse on a table, a crowded bar where everybody is having fun in Japan, if it is lost, it's a foreigner. Because any standard Japanese will pick it, take it to the right place. And I can tell you for sure, in Japan, it will be picked and you will get it somehow. So the problem is we are eroding the moral fabric of some of these nations that we go to and contaminating those nations with our bad manners. And then when you're wondering why you are being kicked out, you'll be kicked out.
And we complain a lot, actually.
No, it's not your country. If anything, go and fix your country and make it have the things that make you want to go to that country.
Make it great.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting, by the way. That's a different perspective, because I currently, as we speak, so many Kenyans, so many African countries, of course, are complaining of what Trump is really doing in terms of the immigration and the issues of the green cards as we speak currently, because he said there's that suspension of the green cards right now as we speak. But one thing that came out as he was taking power, of course, was that aspect of making America great again.
I think only one thing he missed. Only one little thing. Any African country that has got their citizens misbehaving in the US, first, they deny the president of that country a visa to the US. And any other country, African country where people are looking for opportunities so terribly to go to the US is because their country is mismanaged. If they start by denying a visa to some of our presidents, awanyimwe visa ya kwenda US, they'll behave. Wakuje waseme, those African countries where we think they are being led badly, we identify who their presidents are. We deny them visas to the US and to the whole of Schengen and to the whole of Europe.
They will behave.
They will behave because they'll be told only people who have good manners go there. So they have to get and fix their manners. Otherwise, right now, they impoverish their people. And when they are sick, they go to seek medical help out there. Yeah.
Okay. Karibu sana, Victor.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry for giving you a short notice. I know it's because I have some guests who are still stuck in traffic along Thika Road, but they will just be making their way here. So we had just started about we are looking at 2025 in review. Big stories that are made headlines in the course of 2025, and I had just started, of course, by saying politics and of course global conflict was one of the dominated 2025.
Yes,
almost everywhere, yeah. And of course, I touched matters around global feasibility, youth pressure, climate change, economic strains, debts, and so forth. So we were just looking at now the international perspective of it, big stories internationally. And I touched on the fires that happened in the US. Then I talked about the Trump taking over leadership in the US and the things that he did. That is what you just found us discussing or conversing around. And of course, there's the conflicts around the Gaza, that is the Palestine and the Israel. Yeah. There's also the Ukraine war. There is that exchange that happened between the President Donald Trump and the President of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, the death of the Pope. I was just telling Fanyamambo that I didn't know that the Catholic denomination is like it's a government in itself.
It's actually a government.
It's a government.
The Pope even has his own. They call it an army that protects him. You are trained. Its own security is just. It's a city. It's a city within It's a country within a country.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that is something that came to the realization of many of us who are not aware. And of course, now we are talking about the mass deportation, of course, and the migration as a result of what Kinuthia is saying around the misbehavior of a majority of the people who come from this country, the dysfunctioning. Let's say you're coming from a dysfunctioning system whereby people do not have any regard, especially like to the traffic lights. He just mentioned that. And also the issue, the traffic lights. For example, like what we are experiencing right now in the country, a lot of accidents happening. Yeah. We've seen a lot of accidents happening, and some other times just somebody who has just disregarded the traffic lights and so forth, or somebody driving while they are drunk, over speeding and so forth, such things that are really costing us big time. So those are just some of the examples, but we have like 1 minute. I'm just going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, and then now come the next hour, then we shall pick it from there.
Okay, thank you for having me. My name is Maobe Victor. I'm the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters. It's not my first time here,
yes.
So I'm glad to be back again. I don't know, can I touch on that a little bit? If the minute will allow, we can.
It's 1 minute. It's 1 minute.
Okay, then we can come back. And,
we can just take it over to the next hour. But just to the viewers who are at home, of course, we welcome your views. We welcome your opinions. We also welcome, if you remember any big story that you really want us to highlight here at the Generation Report, you have that opportunity. Please do so. Send us such ideas, such stories, so that we can look at them collectively here together with my panelists who are already here. Fanyamambo Kinuthia and Victor Maobe, and there are others who will be joining us as we continue. But remember, this is the Generation Report right here at Radio Generation, 88.8 in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa, Radio Gen KE. That is on our social media platforms. You'll be able to follow the conversation that is happening right here at Radio Generation.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high, all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
Wale majamaa wengine hawana mpango yoyote. Kazi yao ni ukabila na chuki. Akili yao inaishia kwa kugawanya shares ya serikali. Ati mnasikia ati wanaume 5 wanaenda kuketi chini, ati wanagawa serikali ya Kenya, ati wewe chukua 50%, wewe chukua 10%, wewe chukua 20%. Mimi nataka niwaambie wale, serikali si yenu bwana. Mimi nawauliza ndugu watu wa Samburu, msikubali tusomeshe watoto wa Kenya na watoto wa hapa Samburu wabaki nyumbani. Tusikubali kuletewa siasa ya migawanyiko na ukabila na ubaguzi. Sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja. Na mimi kama kiongozi wa taifa letu la Kenya, kazi yangu ni kuunganisha jamii zote za Kenya. Wakenya wote kutoka kaunti zote, kutoka madini zote, kwa sababu Mungu anajua ni kwa sababu gani sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja, taifa la Kenya. Tunaelewana jameni? Na mambo ya maendeleo pia nitahakikisha hakuna sehemu ya Kenya inawachwa nyuma. Kila sehemu tuweze kugawa maendeleo sawa sawa.
We are in bad shape. Ni nini mimi nataka kufanya? My vision is to reset, restore and rebuild Kenya under ukatiba. That is my philosophy. Ukatiba, constitutionalism. Watu wengine wameniuliza ati philosophy yako ni gani? Nikawaambia yangu ni ukatiba. Constitutionalism na mimi ni mukatiba. Umeelewa hivyo? Hiyo ni kusema tufanye kazi kulingana na katiba yetu.
In this world where climate change and all of these things are major factors, we can see Kabarak University taking a lead in showing how to conserve, use what God has given us in plenty, and turn that into power and energy to power not just this university, but to power industry, to power innovation, IT, and when we look at AI especially. All these are technologies that are going to completely revolutionize how we do, how we work, how we move, how we think.
2026, it gives me great pleasure to announce that we will commission the first phase at a key campus providing reliable, clean power for uninterrupted learning, discovery, and innovative impact. This reinforces our leadership ambitions in Africa in sustainable education as a pioneer of this nature in sub-Saharan Africa.
2025, Kenya experienced a disturbing rise in 1. State repression, oppression of citizens, and suppression of voice. Excessive use of force, targeted attacks on civil society, on journalists, on activists, on human rights defenders. Shrinking civic space, systemic impunity by state institutions, and as documented in the People Power and Attack Report 2025 that was launched yesterday, 9th December by Civicus, Kenya Human Rights Commission and CFF, it additionally, unfortunately, categorizes Kenya as being in the oppressed state of human rights and democracy.
This dream, it is about our commitment as a country. Let us for once believe that in ourselves. The president has a vision and he has spoken to it. The government has a vision which the president has elaborated about 10 years. But you see, achieving first world status, you can do it faster than even 10 years, depending on how you are committed. But if you are not so committed again, it will take us a while.
We have taken notice of this matter. We are seized with it and have asked Wakili Jirondegwa on behalf of the residents to make sure that this eviction does not happen. And if it happens, especially during this time when residents are clearly thinking about Christmas holidays, it will be an affront against the basic rights of the residents of this estate.
And the public is concerned, why we re-advertise before we know the outcome, publicly know the outcome of the interviews that were done. We believe strongly, and because we are a university, we believe strongly on merit, that any recruitment done in the public sector, in the public service, should be on the basis of merit, the basis of professionalism, not the basis of nepotism, not the basis of ethnicity.
Tunachota maji kutoka mbali, tunaenda Mikamini huko karibu na Bamba, kilomita kama 12 hivi kuchota maji. Kwa sababu hapa sarani kwetu maji yamekauka.
Maji huwa haiishi, inashikana. Lakini sai venye mvua haikunyesha ile kubwa ni kama imefeli. Kwa hivyo tunaomba sai maji tunaifuata umbali wa kilomita 15 kupata maji. Na venye tunaona kiangazi ni kama itazidi kuendelea. Kwa hivyo tunaomba hata kama ni kupata zile watabuza ziwe zitatusaidia kwa hilo jambo hilo.
Hapa tunashukuru ni kwa sababu ukame umetufinya sana. Mvua haikunyesha, hakuna maji. Wananchi hapa wanategemea kilimo na hawakuwa na mazao kwa mashamba yao. Na hata kwa wakati huu pia hawataraji hawataraji kupata chochote kwa mashamba yao. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wahisani popote mlipo, mwe mkikumbuka kuna hii eneo iko na shida kwa ajili ya kwamba watu wametegemea tu kilimo ya mvua kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, halafu na mifugo ndo mapato.
This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters, the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts.
And yes, we are back. Good evening. This is the Generation Report right here at Radio Generation 88.8 here in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa. Radio Gen KE, that is on our social media platforms. You'll be able to follow the conversations that we are doing here. This is a 2025 in review here at the Generation Report. And of course, I have my guest right here with me. Afanyamambo Kinuthia is an aspirant of a member of parliament seat at Dagoretti South, and also Victor Maobe. He says you say you are there?
I'm the commander-in-chief of the Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters.
Oh, okay, nice. And of course, there are other people joining us later. But majorly, we are looking at those big stories that made headlines. Of course, we've looked at the international, and he had something to add on around the international stories that we've looked at. So that now we can come back, because a lot really happened here, locally, nationally, and even region-wise. A lot happened. So we are coming back. Let's just hear your submission as we move on.
First of all, it's a good thing that Donald Trump has suspended the green card lottery. That one we appreciate, because the American dream has to come back and be maybe the Kenyan or the African dream. However, I want to fault the United States in most of the challenges that we are facing in Africa, because in matters governance and leadership, the United States is the pioneer of democracy. And when you look at what just happened in a place like Tanzania, the United States did not take a very big action, maybe to counter what Suluhu did. Actually, they're just giving sanctions, but they are really soft on them.
But let me ask you, what do you think they can do? Because looking at now these the countries who are now democratic, they are republics already, you hear them saying, I remember actually what Samia Suluhu said, the current president, saying that yeye aingili mambo yao. Why are they coming?
Actually, Suluhu, yes, has a right to say that they are an independent state. But we all know that, look at what is happening in Gaza. Look at what is happening in Palestine. The US has given full support to Israel so that they can invade Gaza. But when it comes to African countries, look at what they did in Congo. They just gave a pronouncement and said the M23 and the government of Congo must come together and do ABCD. But since it was into their benefit, they acted swiftly, and we saw a peace deal being struck in Congo. But for the case of Tanzania, the opposition leader was charged with treason. After being charged with treason, he was denied an opportunity to be on the ballot. How healthy is democracy in Tanzania? And if the US is the so-called watchdog, or rather the superpower and all those titles, what have they done in Tanzania? Because the fact that we've allowed what happened in Tanzania to go on and Suluhu has gotten away with it, it means that youths in Tanzania will only be having dreams of going to the US where the law works. Because something like that cannot happen in mature democracies like the US. So in my argument is that yes, we need to stay in our countries and build our countries. That is the ideology that Trump is giving. But in the other hand, poor governance in Africa, it's actually supported by the United States. So Trump should not be acting as if is doing the right thing, of course, for the Americans, but they are not solving the problems that we have in Kenya or in Africa. So in my opinion, there's a lot which needs to be done in streamlining democracy in Africa. And once the system does not work, it means it will reflect in small laws like maybe traffic. The other time I went to Tatu City, the laws work inside that Tatu City. Yeah, if the speed is 10 kilometers per hour, it's 10 kilometers. And if you have to stop, even if there is no pedestrian crossing, you must slow down so that you can proceed. So you find that these laws can work, but once laws like traffic laws are not working in any given country, it's a reflection of the bigger picture of leadership and how people, it's a habit that people end up developing because they know even if I do this, the police is waiting for 50 shillings on the other side. So if I flout these rules, there's no action which will be taken because the police is responsible of making sure that these laws are done these laws are observed. So you find that the challenges that we are facing, we can actually look up to leadership. If there's laziness in leadership or there's, this thing, there's the big boys club or wherever, I can flout this rule, I can do this without any consequences. How do we expect the common person to observe them? And if they fail to observe those rules, it becomes a behavior. And that's why when we go outside to countries where laws are observed, you find that we find trouble. In countries like the Middle East, you've heard what our fellow Kenyans have been done there. And when the government of that place explains, they say that they did not obey the rules of that place. So there's a lot which has to be done. It's a cultural issue, and actually it's a behavioral issue, as my brother just said. But we need to change it from the society level. How you raise up your child. You tell your child littering is it's bad manners. Yes. When you grow up like myself, I cannot litter. Even when there's no one looking at me, I have something I need to drop, I cannot just drop there. I rather put it in my pocket or elsewhere and I go and dump it too.
Okay.
It's a behavior that you grow with.
Well, let's come back to Africa. And of course, I know you've already touched some stories around Africa. And of course, Africa, again, of course, 2025 has been dominated by politics. Yeah? And also, we are talking of protests. In Africa. Of course, these were caused by the high cost of living in many of these countries. Like, for example, there was those protests and public pressure mounting in countries like Nigeria. We have Ghana, we have Kenya, we have Morocco the other day, such issues. And of course, elections and democratic issues. Look at what happened in Tanzania the other day. We were talking about the elections, the election that was disputed because people felt that there wasn't a democracy in the elections that were just held the other day in October in Tanzania, just the neighboring, and also the violation of human rights. Actually, this is one of the biggest issues that really dominated 2025, especially here in Africa. I would want to hear your submissions around such stories in Africa.
Thank you. I think to start with is our neighbor Tanzania. Tanzania is a perfect example of why stupid people should never be anywhere near leadership. Completely and totally, they should be as far from leadership as heaven and earth are. And I usually tell people, you see, elections do not confer genius on otherwise catastrophic, stupid people. For example, you've had people say, you can't win an election. I remember there was a time when PLO Lumumba offered himself to vie in Kamukunji. And the people of Kamukunji had fantastic ideas. They actually voted for a guy who could barely speak English around that time. I don't want to mention him. And they left PLO. And then they come and laugh at him and tell him, you're not elected and you cannot be elected. And I usually tell Kenyans, look here. What you've done is you have a brilliant person who has not been elected. And then you have an idiot occupying an office of leadership. It doesn't make him wise. He's just an idiot who occupies a position of leadership. I mean, Nairobi has voted for such people, including even as big as gubernatorial positions. Complete total idiots who should not even be running a cattle dip. And now, because that person is elected, you tend to imagine that the day they become elected, tomorrow they'll start performing magic, and they'll start thinking. If you can't think, you can't think, you can't think, you can't think, and we can't help you think, you're an idiot, full stop. So now, Mama Samia Suluhu is an example of a leader who should not have come anywhere close to leadership.
Actually, it just happened because of the passing on of the president, yes?
These are mistakes we make. African leaders are stupid despots who think that you need to have a deputy who is weak, a deputy who is not so clever, a deputy who will not outwit you and not outsmart you. You forget that you could die. And that happened to us around 1978. So I keep telling people, it's good to have a deputy who's got something happening within their head, because they can very easily become president. Actually, they're usually a heartbeat away from the presidency. Even stealing requires some little common sense. When you take all your opponents and imprison them, first it shows you're not thinking. And then after you're done imprisoning them, you hold an election. And then during that election, you decide that you have won with 98%. It has never happened the world over. Even in Rwanda, 98% has never been achieved, okay? It has never happened. So Guinness Book of World Records, that Mama Samia Suluhu has won with 98%. And she is so popular. When you have 98%, it means that 9, actually close to 10 out of 10 people have voted for you. But let's just imagine 9. So when you look at the demonstrations that were happening in Tanzania, you ask yourself, honestly, if 9 out of 10 people wanted you, and it's only one who didn't want, so it means it is this one who was demonstrating. Why didn't the other 9 beat up this one who was demonstrating? So it just shows you that these people don't have common sense. So you go ahead, you say you've been elected by 98% of Tanzanians, and then you swear yourself in a military barracks. You don't want your very many supporters to come and witness you becoming president. So again, it goes to tell you how foolish they are. And then they decide to invite people who attend, all the despots of Africa. In fact, every person you saw there was a leader who smells of murder, who smells of bad leadership, who smells of atrocious things that they've done, crimes against humanity. All the people who attended that thing, all of them have got blood on their hands. And all the people who have got common sense going on within their heads did not attend her swearing in, because they knew this was wrong. And so when you come here, what happened with Mama Samia Suluhu has also been cascaded in this country. When you have the Wamovendes of this country being told that they've won a seat in Bere. I was in Bere. And when it's done, not even a squirrel comes out to celebrate, or even a cockroach, and you are alleging you have 15,000 votes. And then after you're done, the whole place looks like a gravesite. People are sad. You'd think somebody died. Kumbe, it's an MP who won an election. And then you find idiots online. And I call them idiots because idiots is not an insult. It just means someone who's got a measured capacity to think. And you find them on social media saying, hey, we won in Bere, two-term, Wamudenda. You ask them, even Mama Samia Suluhu won. It is not the person who's declared winner. It is not just about being declared winner. It's also about winning the hearts of the people. It's also about working with the people who voted for you. It's also being able to work for them. And so Mama Samia Suluhu and all these other despots in Africa who are doing atrocious things, I want to remind you one thing. Imagine Moi is dead. Imagine after beating Reverend Joya, Nyoya Otocha Chambers, after all those things that Moi did, he's dead. So how long do you think you're going to be alive, Mama Samia Suluhu? What is this power for? Where are you going to take it? You'll be done with your term. And one day, for sure, you will die. And then it becomes useless. Even sometimes I look at human beings and I wonder, are they using their brains? Kamutu kameiba. Unakauliza, how many years are you planning to be alive?
Well, let's hear. Victor, what are your submissions around those stories around Africa?
The United States had given a warning in Nigeria, you remember? They said that they're going to invade Nigeria if at all what is happening between the religious war. They had given a warning in Burkina Faso. In fact, they were trying to say that Ibrahim Traore was trying to, use the country's resources for his own benefit. I'm still surprised. What have they done for Tanzania? Tanzania is a perfect example where the United States should have invaded there, and give the public what they want. Democracy is all about what the majority wants. It's true that the majority did not want Samia. That's why she opted to run against herself. If you are the most popular candidate, what are you scared of? Just call for an election, go to the ballot, you're declared winner, retain your position. Look at where Samia comes from. She comes from Zanzibar. And then look at where, the opposition, Tundu Lissu comes from.
Comes from, yes.
From Tanganyika. Tanzania is a merger between Tanganyika and Zanzibar. But Zanzibar is just an island. And Zanzibar has its own leadership. But again, they've taken all positions in government. They've given them to Zanzibar. They've neglected the largest part of Tanzania. So you find that if at all democracy is working in Africa for the benefit of Africans, then it means that the United States being the watchdog or the captain or the head boy of democracy, they need to come and put things right. But if you look through in Africa, most people who are elected, honestly, through democracy, through the ballot, the unpopular ones are the ones who are elected. The popular ones are kicked out. So I don't believe that democracy works in Africa, especially from the recent cases that we've watched. Look at our country, Kenya. What is happening right now? We are headed to an election where the state is using violence, to suppress the will of the people. We had by-elections. We saw even a place like in Malava, was it in Malava? We saw what happened there. You are an aspirant, you've been attacked, you go to a police station to report, and then the police arrest you for going to report that you've been attacked, right? Guns are ferried, and we saw it. There was violence all over. Violence scares the people from going to the to vote, and mostly women. And you know that according to statistics, women are the largest composition of voters in this country. So already those are ways of undermining democracy. So what happened in Tanzania is just a tip of an iceberg of what has been happening even in West Africa. West Africa, actually, it's even worse. The coups that we are seeing in West Africa, they're just trying to liberate themselves. Are you aware that even in West Africa right now, they're still paying colonial taxes to the French government? So my argument is that Africa, we are not free. And for you to effect democracy, the masses, the majority of the people need to understand what are they going to do at the ballot. Apart from the voter apathy that we talk about, right now we were talking about Gen Zs not going to vote in these by-elections. We are talking about the low absorption. Gen Zs actually, majority of them have not yet gone to register as voters. So the conversation has been on and on. Why are the Gen Zs not coming out? Yet they went to the streets by themselves. They funded themselves to go to the streets. So it means, that they don't want to take part in the process. It's just that they laid out procedure or the current, what is on the menu does not suit them. You cannot tell us to eat anyway, and we don't eat pork and it's on the menu. So democracy has a long way to go. And if the US is serious about Africa, they need to come up with ways of trying to, safeguard democracy and also make people understand what do you look at before you elect someone. Look at Nairobi. My brother said in Nairobi we've had idiots who have led. We are going to have even more idiots because you've made these people poor, and then the language that now they are coming with, especially the government, they are coming with money. In Kisii, there were by-elections for 3 MCAs. I come from Kisii, so I was getting updates that these guys from the government side, the Osoros and so on, they're campaigning using a chopper for MCA positions. How, a chopper, how fast is a chopper? But you're moving around a ward, not even a constituency, a ward campaigning with a chopper. You just come and tell people, nobody should come to you empty-handed. That was the message they were giving. Nobody should come to you empty-handed. Watu wakiwaita, let them come here and give you something. Us, we are here with something. Panga line. That is the language they are using.
Actually, you've reminded me. I heard of these others who are saying that they were being given a loaf of bread and soda.
You know,
and then you sell out your vote just for a piece, loaf of bread and soda.
The question is, do they understand the value of that vote? And then now, after you've understood the value of your vote, then we can now translate it to the effectiveness of democracy. If it's not, you don't understand the value of your vote. You know, this person goes there, ajijenge. In fact, when you are elected, you come back to the community. And after you fail to be re-elected and you're jobless, and then your lifestyle remains the same or comes down, the same people are going to ask you, what did you do with the position that we gave you? So there's a lot that we need to do in terms of civic education, maybe.
Yes.
And also trying to tell society that their vote holds so much power. Those leaders they send to sit in parliament, they actually hold the future of this country in their hand. Right now, we are talking about policies that have been passed in this country. I don't know whether my friend here agrees with them, that we are creating a fund, you know,
we are getting there. Yeah, we are getting to that point. So let's just finish this one around Africa. Yeah. Actually, the fund, the debt issue. Because, of course, a majority of African leaders made renewed calls around debt restructuring, including our own president here. You remember in those international meetings and, of course, them citing limited physical space. Debt is something that is really eating up African countries because we have been borrowing. A majority of these countries borrow. Like, for example, we have seen here in Kenya, we are talking of these odious debts that we are talking about. We are talking of monies that cannot be really accounted for. We are talking of Kenyans right now in every 100 shillings, you paying around 60 something. 60 something out of that goes to debts. So it's quite unfortunate, for example, when we have these debts really eating us up, and then we are not able to trace it to something that is tangible, especially something that is benefiting the citizens of each and every of these countries. I don't know what is your submission around that issue of debts in Africa.
I don't know why we borrow. Start there. I've said we don't have a debt problem in Africa. We have a problem of electing the wrong people. When you elect common sense into leadership, like we did with Mwai Kibaki, only 5% of our budget used to come from borrowing. So it can be done, it's possible. So first we elect common sense into leadership, and 2, we elect good manners into leadership. But 3, and most importantly, is people don't understand that a member of parliament is very important. To raise the debt ceiling, you need parliament. The truth is, for the country to borrow, they usually need the approval of parliament. And when the monies come, parliament is supposed to approve. Unfortunately, we have always said that the member of parliament ni yule msee alinipatia shilingi 200 ama shilingi 500. I saw one struggling to read a statement about wild dogs. He even said our fellow dogs are eating us. I have seen a senator who cannot read Taifa Leo in this country. Some people to come and say, oh, you people, you're elitist, you just want those people who are elitist to go to parliament. That's not the problem. The problem is, when you go to parliament, you think IMF is going to simplify their terms and conditions for debts.
Translate it into mother tongue.
They round it off to the nearest foolishness for you to, you can round it something off to the nearest foolish person so that they can be able to read it. They won't. They'll give you in language as complicated as debt loans come. And then you have to deal with that. So you cannot go to a place where people are coming to fight with guns, and then you send your brother with a kitchen knife and you tell him, go and represent us there with a kitchen knife. You need to send the best of the best to parliament. So my challenge is, let's stop talking about debt first. Let us first send the people with the best ethics, the best morals, and people who have got a good level of education into parliament. Because that's where the most important decisions will happen. And once we do that, you will have conversations that make sense. Nowadays, some of the leaders we have, especially from where I come from, Murima, some of them wait and then they ask, tunavote aje? Anaambiwa. Then they say, put the question. And then they go and tell their demigod, I voted the way you said. Where is my payment for what I did? So Kenya doesn't have a debt problem. Kenya has a problem with parliament. Once we have the right parliamentarians, even the head of state will not do things carelessly. I keep telling Kenyans now we have 289 vacant seats because moja ya Dagoretti South fanya mambo ameichukua. Tunangojea tu time ya Mungu. So all of you out there, whoever you are, can you just deciding nakina nani munaeka kwa hizi 289? We're just looking for 289 people who have got common sense going on within their heads. We have a few people who might be able to survive this parliament because some of them are really good. They are brilliant people. It's not the whole of parliament and senate that is made of idiots. I mean, when you listen to somebody like Sifuna, you can tell there's a lot that, this guy has got to offer the country. But he's alone, he's a problem. Sometimes I see him struggling in Senate. He wants to say something, but he has to simplify his own English so that some dimwits within the same house can understand what he's trying to say. So my suggestion is, as we deal with debt, let's not look at it as an isolated issue. Let's look at it holistically, and let's look at it from the point of view that if you don't have common sense in leadership, then you will get nonsense results.
Thank you.
What I can say about debt, actually today, our national debt has hit 12.12 trillion shillings, the highest ever in the history of this country. And when you look at the history of the debt, for instance, in Kenya, when Kibaki left, he handed over a less than 2 trillion national debt. But when Uhuru took over, up until 2022, we had 8-point-something trillion. Right now, we are talking about 12 it's 12.1, is it 12.12 trillion. Domestic debt constitutes about 6.8 trillion. That is just domestic debt. So when the government has a domestic debt of 6.8 trillion shillings, that begs the question, how are local business people surviving when the government already owes the local sector 6.8 trillion shillings? Where are we getting funding for our businesses and other, enterprises within the country? That is a very bad picture. And again, I don't think whether Parliament has approved all the debt that we have right now. There's something which has been doing rounds, and I think we need to clarify on this, that there was a law which was amended, that once the government can borrow money, or individuals can borrow money on behalf of the state, and the money does not need to make its way to Kenya. It can be sent to other accounts without hitting the consolidated fund. So that is another challenge, because is this debt for national use or for individuals' use? So we need to come up with a clear indication whether we've been paying debt. Are we told how much we paid so far? Are we told what is the balance? So there's an issue of transparency again.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. We are getting back now to the country, Kenya, and even locally. We are going to look at big stories that made headlines in 2025. This is the Generation Report, as I said before, and of course today we are looking at 2025 in review. Big stories that made headlines in the course of the year in our country, right here where we are, and this is Generation Radio. I mean Radio Generation. The two are confusing. Yeah, Radio Generation 88.8 in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa. Watu ambao wanataka kututegea kupitia kwenye social media platforms zetu, Radio Gen KE. That is on Instagram, that is on Facebook, that is on YouTube, that is also on our X platform. By the way, shout out to all those who are tuned in. That is on our X platform. I'm seeing over 1,846 people who have been able to watch our shows, what is happening right here. Therefore, thank you so much. Those of you who are tuned in through our YouTube channel, please, I remind you to send in your what really what really made sense for you in 2025. There are so many stories that happened in the year 2025. So if you got anything that you need us to discuss or to converse around it, please, we have over 1.5 hours to look at at Kenya. Therefore, you can send in on our YouTube because it is live. We can be able to read your comments. You can as well send this through our WhatsApp number. Nambari yetu ya WhatsApp, unaweza send any voice call. You can send it in any other form as a text or what. It is 0116-928683. 0116-928683. We will be able to receive your conversation. As we move on, I want us to look at some of the stories here in Kenya. Like, we are talking of human interest violations. We are talking of the death of the former prime minister and other prominent leaders. Like right now we are talking of Cyrus Jirongo's death, which of course they said it's as a result of an accident. And of course Kenyans, many leaders came out and said no, we really need investigations around this. And of course the death of the former prime minister, which led to a change, a shift in the politics of the country, because we are seeing a lot happening, and especially in his party, that is the ODM party, seeing a lot of things happening. People saying that you are left in the government, so we cannot work out. Others saying that we are confident that we really need to have our own candidate for 2027 elections. We are also talking about the issue of the privatization bill. It is also a big story this year in our country. Talking of Safaricom, selling of the shares, Kenya Pipeline, and what this really means to Kenyans and even to the economy of the country. Because a lot is happening, and also the infrastructure fund. Yeah, Rais anasema hapo 5 trillion lazima hizo tutachanga na zitatoka from this privatization, proceeds of this privatization, proceeds from other taxation, hata internal borrowing and so forth. But he's saying that we are not going to borrow outside again. So okay, we are going to see. So we are going to look at such issues. But before we do that, let's have a listen to this.
Wale majamaa hawataki Singapore, ati wanataka kwenda Somalia. Wale ni watu akili sijui namna gani. Tunaelewana my friends? Tumekubaliana? Wacha nichukue nafasi hii kwa sababu unajua bado tuko na mkutano mwingine upande ile.
One term. So what? The Kenyans who will decide the term, and we will see where we want to go. I am confident when that time comes, we will face Kenyans squarely and tell Kenyans, this is why we did ABCD, this is where we want to go. Utasema yako, tutasema yetu. Tuone wa Kenya watamini nani. So hivyo mimi sina wasiwasi. Piga kelele namna hiyo. Bweka tu. Hiyo ni kama hiyo ngurumo ya chura. Ngurumo ya chura haizui ng'ombe kunywa maji. Ng'ombe itakunywa maji. We will be able to move beyond 2027. I'm confident we will move beyond 2027. Nobody should try to threaten us. We are Kenyans like you are Kenyans. Don't go and say that Kenyans is sectionalized. Sisi ni watu wa bahari. Sisi ni watu wa ziwa, kanda ya ziwa Victoria. Sisi ni watu wa bonde la ufa. Sisi ni watu wa milima. Sisi zote ni wa Kenya. We are all Kenyans. All and every Kenyan matters. It's not a question of blood relationship. Oh, our cousins. You're our cousins. You're our cousins. So those are your cousins. Those who are not your cousins, what are they? Are they not Kenyans? Are they not Kenyans? Don't tell us also that the government has got shareholders. Watu wengine wako na share mingi, wengine wana kidogo, wengine hawana shares. Then why are you collecting taxes from those who don't have shares? Why do you tax them? You collect shares, money from them, and you say they don't deserve services because they did not vote for you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Well, we are back to the country, and like I said, we are looking at the death of the former Prime Minister. You've heard him, and before he died, of course, those are some of the statements that he had. Those are some of the latest speeches that he had done, and of course, I know he's one of the leaders who was calling for that conclave. Like I said there was that conclave after the death of Pope Francis, and now they talked about the conclave, and then now it is a word that started being used in our country, and it is especially by the late former Prime Minister, saying that Kenya needs a conclave, that people need to sit down and talk. It is a call that many people also disregarded and others also supported, but we never saw, it is an idea that never saw the light of the day later on. Again, also, what does his death really mean to the politics of the country? We are going to start with Fanyamambo. What does Raila's death? The changes that were caused by his death in our political scene.
I think I have spoken a lot about Raila Amolo Odinga, so I would not belabor much about him. But his death has dealt us a big blow, because now we are being given new rubbish called Singapore. We are being promised a utopian nation that will come, and that bottom up hustler narrative nonsense no longer matters to us, and now we need to think of ourselves as a foreign country called Singapore. And so everything else that is Kenyan doesn't matter. What matters is how we are taking into a new dreamland, a country called Singapore, which I have always submitted to William Ruto, that you cannot speak about Singapore with one side of the mouth and then speak of Mudhende with the other side of the mouth. Singapore started by abhorring corruption and fighting corruption, and actually meeting very severe punishment on anybody who was caught in corruption. But you cannot come and present as a UDA candidate in Mbere wa Mudhende, who has got serious corruption allegations hanging on his head about supplies to KNH. And it's all over social media, it's all over mainstream media, and his name are there, and he's changed his names, and then you're saying you're taking us to Singapore. You cannot use the ingredients that would lead us to Nepal to prepare us for Singapore. So you make all the terrible mistakes that the Nepalese government made, and then you wonder why we are not getting to Singapore. You look, this government has got an affinity. They are very highly attracted to the worst, the most terrible creatures, the most unimaginable human beings with the worst human records, with the most, think of them and you ask them, so you've decided you want us to take us to Singapore. That's a good thing. But the next thing is, when I look at the vehicle that you want to use to take us to Singapore, it's a wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow sasa itaenda Singapore, itafika siku gani na itafika na speed gani? It's not possible. It doesn't get there. So I think we have a delusional leadership, and we have a people who have decided to follow delusion. Some of these people you see shouting two-term online are bots, robots that have got 5, 6, 7 accounts, and they're just there. Their work is to shout two-term. And then when you raise an issue, they say, well, Nikikuyu Jinga, even if you are from each other, because they've been told there are only two things that will make them win. One is a utopian idea called Singapore, which we don't want, and we've said no to. And the second one is to balkanize the nation, and to make it look like this particular tribe is the one that has a problem with this particular tribe, and that's not where we are. That's why we're not going anywhere. But Kenyans are saying, when you killed Gen Zs, it was not about tribe. When you bought finance bill, it was not about tribe. When all these things happened to us about Albert Ojwang and everybody else, it was not about tribe. So don't bring that card. It's not going to work in 2027. In fact, if anything, the people from where I come from, people from the mountain, are saying one thing. William Ruto has got one card he wants to use. He wants to come and say it is Gema versus the rest of the country. And for us now as a people, we are trying to say, wait a minute. It is not Gema versus the whole country. Now, this is a different script altogether. For us who live in the mountains, we are saying, what if we don't want to be president? What if we don't want to be deputy president? What if the people from the mountain do not even want prime cabinet secretary? What we are saying is, we want to look for a capable leader, a person with integrity, a person of good record. And we don't care whether that person is a Saboat. And we shall give our votes to that person so that together with what they get around the country, we get a president. So that this whole idea that he has in his brain, that he's going to balkanize this nation and make this look like a Kikuyu versus the rest of the country affair. How do you fight people who don't want to be president? How do you fight people who come and tell you, by the way, we don't have a candidate on the ballot, we are not presenting a candidate on the ballot, we are just looking for somebody who is better than you, William Ruto. And by the way, it can even be another Kalenjin. So let him not come here and say that Kikuyus don't want Kalenjins, because that's the plan they have for 2027.
Okay.
The Kikuyu nation and those people who are being called cousins that Raila was referring to and all the others can wake up tomorrow morning and say, by the way, we also have Kalenjins who are good. It doesn't have to be William Ruto. So the whole idea is we've tested his leadership, William Ruto, and we don't want it. And we have said that we shall get an alternative Kenyan who will lead us better and to a better place. That alternative Kenya can even be a Maasai. For all we care, so that the tribal card dies once and for all. It's not going to work.
Let me take you back a little bit, because okay, when you say that as a tribe you may not be interested in the leadership.
Yes.
We've had the reason why maybe it's because of this Murima thing by the former deputy president, who has been for the longest time been accused of being a tribal, and of course messing up the rest of the tribe's skin. That is what is coming out.
I think people misinterpret a lot of things. Today the president has just appointed somebody from his own community to head another parastatal. Who is more tribal between Rigiji and the president? Our president is the most tribal person. All his appointments go to his kinsmen. And he doesn't want us to have those conversations. We are saying, kwani hakuna Mutaita angepewa hiyo kiti? Hakuna Mugiriama, hakuna Mkisi, hata msipe Mkikuyu, hatutaki. We are too many in government. But at least get another tribe. So you cannot come and tell us Rigiji is tribal. And you who is saying you're not tribal are appointing your kinsmen and your tribesmen to all the plum positions in this country. This is a conversation we need to have. Yeah, so don't tell us about being tribal. Now, you keep saying that we are speaking about Murima. Let me tell you.
Murima every day.
Let me tell you. Today, unasikianga wamepanga Luo night, carnival. And all the Luos meet and they dance to the Luo music. Hakuna shida. Unasikia the Kalenjins are having their night.
Every other tribe is having
Mulembe
their night.
Nation
Yes.
is having their night.
Yes.
Wakisi they
The
are
Kamba
having
people,
Egesa. In fact,
yes.
wanashindanga na hizo nights. Wakikuyu wanapanga tu kamoja. Kanaitwa Ngemi 1. Ile shida inatokea hii Kenya. Tunajiuliza, tumeua mtu. Tumemeet, tumeimba nyimba zetu za Kikuyu. Tumekunywa muratina. Na si yenyu, hakuna muratina yenyu imeibiwa, ni yetu. Tumeimba, tumekunywa. It becomes a big national problem. Tunauliza kwani sisi wa Kikuyu tulikosea Mungu wapi ama tuliwakosea wa Kenya wapi jamani? Just having our own Mugithi night, saying tumemeet kama wa Kikuyu. There's one we had in Thika, just meeting there and just eating mokimo, na hakuna mokimo wa Kenya imeibiwa by the way. Na hatujaenda tumekula tu mokimo yetu yenye imepikwa na our own beautiful Kikuyu ladies. Wametupikia mokimo, tumekula, inakuwa ni shida. I think we also deserve to be treated fairly. And by the way, we are not going to be apologetic for being Kikuyus, because it has become so criminal to be a Kikuyu in this country that even when you say you're a Kikuyu unaulizwa, unaambua vitu mbaya. You are like, mimi nimekosea wapi? Ni vile tu unaweza niambia wewe ni Mluya, wewe ni Mkisi, wewe ni Mtaita na nikuheshimu. Uniambia unaenda Egesa night, nobody gives. Useme tu unaenda Ngemi ama unaenda Mugithi. It's a big problem. Now, in the US, let me make this. In the US, there are states that are traditionally Republican. There are states that are traditionally Democratic. And they even say the blacks will vote like this. They even say, I don't know, we are white Caucasian, our origin is island. They have all that. But it's never an issue. Sisi wa Afrika tukikuja to decide, hawa ni Waluya, wameunaitiwa na natembea na wanasema tawe. You start saying it's a bad thing. I think tribe only becomes bad if I start hating you because of the tribe you come from. it is okay for the Luya to meet. It's okay for the Kikuyu. In fact, it's happy. We are happy to be called sons of Mulima. And by there, I will never apologize. I can't change my tribe. I can't change my DNA. Kama hiyo ndio itafanya mtu anichukie ni sawa. I think the only thing I should never do is to look at other communities with a condescending attitude and to speak ill of them because I think they are not Kikuyus. That is wrong. But positive ethnicity is good. Sharing our heritage is good. And sisi hatuta apologize. Sisi ni watu wa mulima na tumezaliwa huko na tunakaa huko and we have a right to be here. Finally, I challenge you right now. Wewe na wewe. City mortuary sio mbali.
Yes.
Twende hizo fridge zifunguliwe. Uhesabu mwili. Wakikuyu ndio wengi. Uingie Kenyatta National Hospital. Just count the patients. Wakikuyu ndio wengi. So that it is okay to have 10 dead Kikuyu bodies and maybe 2 Kisis. But when we come to politics, it's not okay to have 10 Kikuyus in political positions. I come and say, even nature itself chooses to have more dead Kikuyus in a mortuary fridge. Nature.
No, it's proximity to, you know, to the central region. Yes.
Now, it's not about proximity to the central region. If you do the statistics today, uende ulize, how many people have died in Kenya today? How many are from Meru? How many are from Mlima? How many are from Luya? How many are from... So nature itself has chosen to have more Kikuyus dying. Nature itself has chosen to have more Kikuyus in hospital. Nature itself has chosen to have more Kikuyu having problems. Hata wale wamefungiwa nyumba leo. Tukisema tu, hata wale wamechotwa gari leo. Tukisema tuhesabu ni wangapi utakuta wa Kikuyu ndio wengi. Hata wale waligraduate. Now, ukifika sasa mahali tunaanza kushare opportunities. Sisi, when you're sharing problems, it's okay to have 1,000 dead Kikuyus. It's okay to have 1,000 sick Kikuyus. But it's not okay.
But I think Fanyamambo, I think, and especially the issue of tribalism, majorly is not even actually coming out with the Kikuyu. I think that issue was majorly highlighted through the leadership, the leaders that you have there who have been really... having that Murima word all over, you get. For example, you know, for the former deputy president, Gachagua, he was a leader, a deputy president for the whole country, right?
Yes.
For the whole country.
Yes.
If now you're pushing for presidency, you are not becoming a president for the Mount Kenya region alone. We are talking about the whole nation.
Yes.
We are talking of the Kampas, the Taitas, and all over the Kikuyus and the Luos. So I think because people said that, and actually some of the members of the United Opposition came out and said that, like, the way he talks somehow anatuchomea. We are not tribal. You are not tribal. But then now, your leader, once they come out and use vocabularies that, insinuate someone who is tribal, you know, that is now where the problem is.
Have you seen President William Ruto's people who are saying Mount Kenya igawanywe mara mbili, kukuwe na Mount Kenya East na wapatiwe title lead yao? One of the people who is advocating for that nonsense is his own deputy. Why is he all of a sudden not being told he's tribal or he's sectarian or he's regional, and he's trying to divide communities along ethnic or clan or whatever kind of rubbish? I think I tell you politics about what you want to perceive. There is a whole attack on the mountain. And this is a mistake that has happened in this country. Wakikuyu walikubali when they were being attacked and beaten left, right, and center. What the people who were attacking the Kikuyus did, they targeted the leader of the Kikuyu, who was Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Our people, in their foolishness, joined the other people in fighting their own leader, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Raila Amolo Odinga, in the history of his existence, made very many mistakes. Uliwahi ona Mujaluo amecompose wimbo ya kutukana Raila? One, hata ingepleiwa wapi? Umewahi ona Mkalenjin amecompose wimbo ya kutukana William Ruto with all these problems we are having? But look at our people. Our people were joining in the fray of fighting our own people. Now we've gotten a man who is saying that the Kikuyu people are being fought, and he has offered himself to fight for them. Now the problem they have is that Rigathi is so strong in his fighting for his own people, and they hate him for that. They are now saying Natembeya is a tribal leader because he's speaking for the Luya. But I would tell Natembeya, do not apologize. These people identify as Luyas first before they identify as Kenyans. And there's nothing you can do about it. They are Luyas. Okay? The problem is when the Luyas come and use their tribal card to the disadvantage of other people. But they need Natembeya to speak for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Maasai have always had Ledama Olekina. He says terrible things, especially about Kikuyus. I've not had people coming and saying Ledama Olekina is a tribal leader. I think we need to get to that point where we say, no, I am not going to be apologetic for fighting for my people and for fighting for what is right. I think the only problem I would fault Rigathi Gachagua is if he woke up one day and insulted the Luo community. If he woke up one day and insulted the Maasais and said degrading things or demeaning things about them. If Rigathi Gachagua woke up tomorrow and said, I hate the Taita they have done, they look like, I would have a problem with Rigathi Gachagua. But if Rigathi Gachagua comes and says, sisi watu wa mlima tunataka hivi, sisi watu wa mlima tuko, why are you asking him questions about, no, this has to be very clear. Ile si kufanya mambo, atakuja atukane wa Luya, atukane wa Jaluo, atukane wa Kisii, ama atukane wa Kalenjin. Fanya mambo is a bad person. That we must say as a country. That I can't come here and say wa Masai, wa Jaluo, wa Kisii. But ile siku fanya mambo atakuja aseme, sisi wa Kikuyu, tuko na cassava, tuko na tea, tuko na pyrethrum, tuko na mihogo, na tunataka kuyuza kama wa Kikuyu. I promise you, even if you fight me to the end of the world, I'll tell you, it still remains our position that we feel as a people this is what we deserve. I will always say, the day Rigathi Gachagua will come up and insult a community, I'll be the first to tell him, you're our party leader, but I think you have gone wrong.
Okay.
But the day he comes up and says mambo ya mlima, mambo ya mlima, mambo ya mlima, mambo ya mlima, acha tukana mtu ongea mambo ya mlima. Wewe ikikuuma, you have a community, rudi kwenyu, ongea mambo ya kwenyu.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for your submission. Victor, what's your take on that?
First of all, Rigathi Gachagua joined William Ruto, and I think he delivered from the mountain. So going back, once he was ousted as the deputy president, after his impeachment, he had to go back home and consolidate his base. And as we've known, the Kenyan politics has always been tribal. Because even William Ruto right now is shifting his focus to Luo Nyanza, the opposition zones. So this tells you that Rigathi Gachagua is fighting a silent war with Uhuru Kenyatta because he wants to be the kingpin of the mountain. So speaking about Mrima is just a simple way of trying to consolidate the Mount Kenya people behind him and telling them Uhuru Kenyatta has finished his second term. There's nothing else we are waiting for him to offer us. I'm here now. I was a deputy president, and again we've been kicked out of government. So remember, politics also has interest, and he's trying to defend the interest of the region where he comes from. So I don't really fault him for speaking about Mlima, because in the end, he does not serve in any capacity of uniting Kenyans, because the president is the symbol of national unity. Right now, Rigathi Gachagua is just, he's trying to build his political muscles again so that he can contest at the national level. About the issue of Raila Odinga and the effect that it has caused to the country, Raila Odinga, even when he was still alive, there were differences within the ODM party.
True.
We have the younger Turks who are, against the regime of William Ruto, and we had the older people that already achieved what ODM has been fighting for the last 20 years, which is to be in government. So for them, they are very content with the positions that they have, and they don't see any mistake in supporting the government. However, the silent majority of ODM party members, where do they stand? Because this now going to...
Let me cut you short, kidogo, because of the time. We are heading to the top of the hour. So you're going to come back with the same point. So please hold on that thought as we continue. This is the Generation Report 2025 in review at Radio Generation 88.8 Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa, Radio Gen KE. That is our social media platforms.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul.
Wale majamaa wengine hawana mpango yoyote. Kazi yao ni ukabila na chuki. Akili yao inaishia kwa kugawanya shares ya serikali. Ati mnasikia ati wanaume 5 wanaenda kuketi chini ati wanagawa serikali ya Kenya, ati wewe chukua 50%, wewe chukua 10%, wewe chukua 20%. Mimi nataka niwaambie wale, serikali si yenu bwana. Mimi nawauliza ndugu watu wa Samburu, msikubali tusomeshe watoto wa Kenya na watoto wa hapa Samburu wabaki nyumbani. Tusikubali kuletewa siasa ya migawanyiko na ukabila na ubaguzi. Sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja. Na mimi kama kiongozi wa taifa letu la Kenya, kazi yangu ni kuunganisha jamii zote za Kenya. Wakenya wote kutoka kaunti zote, kutoka madini zote, kwa sababu Mungu anajua ni kwa sababu gani sisi wote ni watu wa taifa moja, taifa la Kenya. Tunaelewana jameni? Na mambo ya maendeleo pia nitahakikisha hakuna sehemu ya Kenya inawachwa nyuma. Kila sehemu tuweze kugawa maendeleo sawa sawa.
We are in bad shape. Ni nini mimi nataka kufanya? My vision is to reset, restore and rebuild Kenya under ukatiba. That is my philosophy. Ukatiba, constitutionalism. Watu wengine wameniuliza ati philosophy yako ni gani? Nikawaambia yangu ni ukatiba. Constitutionalism na mimi ni mukatiba. Mumeelewa hivi? Hiyo ni kusema tufanye kazi kulingana na katiba yetu.
In this world where climate change and all of these things are major factors, we can see Kabarak University taking a lead in showing how to conserve, use what God has given us in plenty and turn that into power and energy to power not just this university, but to power industry, to power innovation, IT, and when we look at AI especially. All these are technologies that are going to completely revolutionize how we do, how we work, how we move, how we think.
2026, it gives me great pleasure to announce that we will commission the first phase at a key campus providing reliable, clean power for uninterrupted learning, discovery, and innovative impact. This reinforces our leadership ambitions in Africa in sustainable education as a pioneer of this nature in sub-Saharan Africa.
2025, Kenya experienced a disturbing rise in 1. State repression, oppression of citizens, and suppression of voice. Excessive use of force, targeted attacks on civil society, on journalists, on activists, on human rights defenders. Shrinking civic space, systemic impunity by state institutions, and as documented in the People Power and Attack Report 2025 that was launched yesterday, 9th December by Civicus, Kenya Human Rights Commission and CFF, it additionally, unfortunately, categorizes Kenya as being in the oppressed state of human rights and democracy.
This dream, it is about our commitment as a country. Let us for once believe that in ourselves. The president has a vision and he has spoken to it. The government has a vision which the president has elaborated about 10 years. But you see, achieving first world status, you can do it faster than even 10 years, depending on how you are committed. But if you are not so committed again, it will take us a while.
We have taken notice of this matter. We are seized with it and have asked Wakili Njirondegwa on behalf of the residents to make sure that this eviction does not happen. And if it happens, especially during this time when residents are clearly thinking about Christmas holidays, it will be an affront against the basic rights of the residents of this estate.
And the public is concerned, why we re-advertise before we know the outcome, publicly know the outcome of the interviews that were done. We believe strongly, and because we are a university, we believe strongly on merit. that any recruitment done in the public sector, in the public service, should be on the basis of merit, the basis of professionalism, not the basis of nepotism, not the basis of ethnicity.
Tunachota maji kutoka mbali, tunaenda mikamini huko karibu na Bamba, kilomita kama 12 hivi kuchota maji, kwa sababu hapa sarani kwetu maji yamekauka.
Maji huwa haiishi, inashikana, lakini sai venye mvua haikunyesha ile kubwa ni kama imefeli. Kwa hivyo tunaomba sai maji tunaifuata umbali wa kilomita 15 kupata maji, na venye tunaona kiangazi ni kama itazidi kuendelea. Kwa hivyo tunaomba hata kama ni kupata zile watabuza ziwe zitatusaidia kwa hilo jambo hilo.
Hapa tunashukuru ni kwa sababu ukame umetufinya sana. Mvua haikunyesha, hakuna maji. Wananchi hapa wanategemea kilimo na hawakuwa na mazao kwa mashamba yao. Na hata kwa wakati huu pia hawataraji kupata chochote kwa mashamba yao. Kwa hivyo tunaomba wahisani popote mlipo, mwe mkikumbuka kuna hii eneo iko na shida kwa ajili ya kwamba watu wametegemea tu kilimo ya mvua kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu, halafu na mifugo ndo mapato.
This week, power was tested in the corridors of leadership, economies shook under pressure, and the voices of ordinary citizens demanded to be heard. From breaking decisions in high office to protests in the streets, from moments of triumph to tragedies that stopped us in our tracks, these are the headlines that shaped our week. And beyond the noise, we search for what really matters: the connections, the context, the stories behind the stories. Introducing Patricia Wayoa, and this is your weekly news roundup on Radio Generation, where every headline has a heartbeat and every moment counts. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation.
And we are right back here at the Generation Report 2025 in review. Big stories that made headlines in the course of the year 2025, and we just are reviewing them, and of course giving you an opportunity also to share what you got for 2025. We've looked at international stories, we've looked at regional stories that is around Africa, and right now we are back here in the country, in Kenya, talking about politics, talking about the economy, talking about issues, security, education, and so forth. I'm joined by Nafanya Mambo Kinuthia, who is an aspirant for Member of Parliament in Dagoretti South, and also Victor Maobe. He said he's
the
Chief,
CIC, Kenya Economic Freedom Fighters.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. I keep on forgetting that name, but again, I know it's a good title, and you're doing a good job, of course, educating people, sensitizing people around economic issues, which is quite important, and especially in our country right now, where we are fighting with issues to do with high cost of living, or of course the governance issues. That is where we are talking about the young people going to the streets and protesting actually about the leadership of the country, and also issues to do with the human rights violations. Kinuthia talked something around we talk about tribalism and so forth, and you are continuing with the thought around what the impact of the death of former Prime Minister to the politics of the country, and of course the leadership of the country, as we continue.
Yeah, the death of the former Prime Minister, of course, he allowed mature democracy within the ODM party. There were those who were in support of the broad-based, and there were those who were against the broad-based. But I think he tried to listen to both sides and try to get balance. He never really took a firm stand and said, okay, we are fully in government or we are fully outside government. So there has to be that room for democracy. But the aftermath of all this, we all know that there is a faction of the ODM party that is trying to drift away from the main party. And that faction, and maybe just to mention, there were rumors that Babu Wino was hospitalized. We wish him quick recovery for that. Mm-hmm. And democracy is really mature, and we must be on the people's side at all times. people like Edwin Sifuna and the team, they're trying to speak about issues in a sober manner. Because when other people speak about government appointments, we are going to stay in government, we are going to do this, is this government really serving the interest of the people? That is the question. Where is the popular majority within the opposition zones or within the ODM party before the demise and at the aftermath of the demise of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga?
Actually, when you're saying that, I felt like during the burial day or during that morning period, of course, we saw leaders, especially the likes of Kina John Badi, that is the Treasury Cabinet Secretary. We saw the likes of Kina Ali Hassan Joho of Mombasa. We saw several of leaders, actually those who were given positions in the government. We saw how, we had their speech, their statements. And actually, I thought it is because they were mourning. When you're mourning, sometimes you can get so emotional and you can say things that that you are not meant to say, which later maybe you can sit back and say, oh, I didn't mean this. So that's something that maybe I felt it to be like that. But again, we've also seen the daughter of the former Prime Minister, Winnie Odinga. We've seen her. It's like she's also parting from these other guys. Him with Babu Owino, the Kina Sifuna, and a few of the guys. So I think also because it reached a point when we felt like ODM was dying. Actually, it reached a point when we felt like ODM is like. But then kuna wale wamekwama na wakasema kwamba we need to field, we need to stay in government. Others saying that we need to field a candidate for 2027.
Actually, what will happen, or what is currently happening, is that when you look at the history of ODM, it's been built in the streets. And I think Winnie Odinga spoke about this.
Sure.
It was never built in boardrooms and bedrooms. It's not a pillow talk. This is a revolutionary organization. People have died in the streets for this. That is why ODM has become the ODM that we know. The people that are talking that we are in government, we're in government, they've come up as a result of this organization. And this organization has been built through the street, tear gas. We've all been witnessing the demonstrations that ODM was holding. So ODM as a party, they have to be a pro-people party. They have to be a party that is championing for the interest of the common Kenyans. It has to be a party that is keeping the government on toes. It's the watchdog of the government. Actually, ODM is the second largest party in parliament with 83 MPs after UDA has 145. So this tells you that ODM is the official watchdog of the government. You cannot say, let us work with government, and when we feel a lot is not going on well within that government, but you're telling us because we've been awarded positions, now let us keep silent. We are talking, look at what the president has been launching the other day, or the roadmap to Singapore, the issue about affordable housing. Of course, we saw people inside those houses and he was saluting to them and so on. But sometimes back, I was trying to apply. Actually, I wanted to know the process of applying for a house. Do you know, I found out that most houses were already sold out. The available houses were in other counties. But the process of getting a house, first you had to pay a down payment, of which they say now they've scrapped the down payment and so on. But the fundamental question to this is that, why are you deducting money from people to build houses, then come back and sell the houses, advertise to sell the houses, but you are not targeting the same people you are deducting the money, right? People in the private sector, majority of them have not contributed to the housing levy. Majority of them. And we are talking about a population of 20% is in the formal sector, the rest is in the informal sector. Isn't this an economic injustice to those people that are being deducted money so that they can fund this project? But again, you are selling the house to the highest bidder, which means if you have the capacity, you can take up to 5 units because you have the money.
Well, what I know is they say that it's one ID, one house. One ID card, one house. I did try to apply for one here in Nairobi, Of course, I paid some some registration of 200 shillings,
Yeah,
and then
also
now,
did.
the registration of 200 shillings, and then now there is now that, is it 10% of the amount that you're talking about? If you're taking a house that is worth 4 million shillings, you have to pay around 400.
400,000.
Yeah, 400,000. If you're taking a 2 million house, you have to pay. But okay, I've not moved past the registration. I've not been able to pay anything.
Same case.
Yeah. So now,
Because sometimes you have to buy off plan, and you'll believe this government is going to construct. all
so
that.
now my worry is, because I usually see anytime the president, because the other day he launched the Mukuru phase 2, the houses, and we saw people trying to explain where the government has taken them from, uko kwa slum mpaka sasa pali wako, and then you look at the people. I don't know, hizo viti zinapatikana hapo ndani. I had a question, by the way, hizo viti ziko pale hivi I know the gas, electricity unapima pale ndani, but now those other things, I think zinapatikana pale.
I don't know why we waste precious time discussing William Ruto and his Jesus Christ. Think about it this way. Land belongs to government.
To the government, yes.
So it is free. Literally. They've taken it away from Kenyans for free. They come and deduct money from people unwillingly and forcefully, by the way. So the money they are using to construct these houses is not their money. That money is public money. And then once they are done, they come and tell you that we acquired this land for free, and then we built houses using money that is not ours. It's public money. And now we want to sell them for a unit 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, whatever, and you need to pay 10%. First is, who gave them the right to sell public land? Because literally, you're not buying a house that is existing in the air. You're buying a house that is domiciled on public land. So that is what they do not want to regularize, that you can come and sell public land. Because technically what they've done is they've taken away public land, then they've taken away public money, they have displaced people, they have built those houses. Now they are selling. So everything to them was free. But at the point of detaching themselves with this unit, they want to sell it. And they want to sell it to a member of the public without explaining to them how you, as a member of the public, now becomes an owner of public land that belonged to all Kenyans in general.
Well,
and also, you're a payslip holder. Hii pesa imekatwa kwa payslip yako by force, which means then you should be entitled to a house. But then when you go, you're told to pay 10% of the value of the house, and you'll still buy it at commercial rates. Na hii pesa tunalipa inaenda kwa nani? Because we are being told so much about how much money is being collected to build. We're not being told about how much money is being. Now, come to Mukuru, which was drama. Mukuru has been treated to a lot of drama. Initially, they were treated to drama. They never occupied those houses. I went on TV and said, nionyesheni mtu mmoja wa Mukuru mwenye ameoccupy. Watu wa Tutamu wakanitukana, they realized they're insulting me for nothing. They realized that nobody had occupied the houses. Juzi wakapelekwa hapo. Wakafanya fireworks. When they were there saying now they are going to leave their landlords, they even insulted their landlords. Wakaambua mwezi occupy. The PS was on TV saying that they need to install gas in those houses. Sorry. I want to ask PS Hinga. Hawa watu wenye wako kwa slum sahi wanatumia gas. If the excuse is that they need 90 days to install piping for gas, why did you go to launch houses that didn't
why
have
are you
gas?
launching when by the when it is not
So
ready
umewaleta
for
hapo
use?
wamebeba kifunguo, umefanya umefanya fireworks, then those people have gone back to the slums. This is mental torture.
And actually I remember,
in fact, somebody needs to sue this government because of playing with the emotions of those people of the slums, because that is really bad. Can you imagine unaonyeshwa nyumba mara ya kwanza alafu unarudi tena kulala kwa slum, na watu walikuona kwa TV uko na nyumba, alafu the next time unaletwa tena mnaonyeshwa nyumba alafu mnaambiwa haina gas, rudini nyumbani. This is not fair. Now it becomes even worse. Wewe umelipa 200 shillings kujoin your boma yangu. And then beyond that, imagine if 1 million Kenyans each pays 200 shillings.
That's a lot of
That's
money.
200 million.
Yeah.
And then sasa
That's a lot of money by the way.
Mukishaambiwa hivyo, mshalipa hiyo pesa. Unakuja unaitishwa deposit ya 10%.
Yes.
Now tell me, explain to me like a baby, like an idiot who's just come from us and who understands things very slowly. Explain to me why you are paying 400,000 as deposit for a house, and there's a guy in Mukuru who has got no salary, no income, no payslip, ajaikatwa hata bob na anapewa hiyo nyumba.
Na amepata nyumba.
People will come and say Fanyamambo is hating on the poor. I am not. I'm just instilling common sense into people and asking, just explain to me like I'm a fool. How there is one person going to Boma Yangu paying 200 shillings, then after they paid 200 shillings, they are registering, they are paying 10%, and then they are being dedicated a unit, they are being given to them. Now explain to me how somebody in the slums is also getting the same house for zero money. It's not going to work.
Actually, I heard them say that they went and did the registration also.
Yes, at the point where they were needed 400,000, is it all happy?
No, the question
or
is
200,000 if the house is
those were bed sitters actually.
Actually,
Yes.
the question
But
is,
what is the 10% of the bed sitter?
how many Kenyans can afford the 10%? Just asking, how many Kenyans?
Yes.
If you are struggling to pay rent in Mukuru of 3,500, who is the target market for this housing project?
Let us even imagine the house is 800,000. The 10% would be 80,000.
Yeah, it's 800 actually bed sitter. Yes.
Now show me a slum dweller who will be able to put together 80,000.
80,000.
Hii ingine inafungangwa na kufuli. We are always seeing drama akishindwa kulipa wanang'oanga mabati moja juu because wamechoka kufunga mlango. Now show me how that person will raise 80,000. Na akisha raise 80,000, how they'll be able to pay 6,500 shillings per month. And they are not paying 3,500.
Okay.
And government is not giving them jobs.
I want you to make me understand. Okay, how was the previous houses in the government houses that people used to stay in, like the Makongeni, like in Mombasa, that place. What do you call it?
NHC also.
Okay.
Yes. How was the arrangement? Because they were buying.
Sense
Yes.
is used. In countries where common sense is used, and in Kenya when common sense used to be common in government.
Yes.
What used to happen is that government would take land, which is public land. They would build bedhe bila kututax. Si Uhuru alikuwa anajenga hizi nyumba, alitukata pesa ngapi? Hata hizo za Mukuru si ni Uhuru alianza. Aliraid payslip yako pesa ngapi? So government would build those houses. Then most of those houses used to go to the county governments. Now the county governments used to collect rents from those houses. Hata walikuwa Ulolo, Ziwani, nini, Mada.
They did not own the houses.
They did not own the houses.
Yes.
They used to, the county government used to collect rents. Hata wenye walifukuzwa hapa just here in Ngong Road pale behind Prestige, Jamhuri.
Yes.
They used to pay rent for very many years. So and
actually subsidized rent, right?
Subsidized rent.
Yes.
That is what it means. That literally now people know the meaning of affordable houses. They were living in Nairobi, but at rents that were not commercial rents. They were rents that were subsidized to a great extent. But I keep saying the problem that Kenya has is not a housing problem. You know, allow me to indulge you a bit, because this is now a serious case of trying to engage the brain. If you're a doctor and this is your hospital,
yes,
and you walk in and you find very many people at the reception, there are two categories of human beings. There's an idiot who will increase the size of the reception and say, watu ni wengi sana wako crowded, let us expand the size of the reception.
Yes.
And then there's a common sense using human being who will say, the reason we have many people at the reception is because where the service is being provided, there's a delay. So a right-thinking person will increase the consultation rooms and the efficiency on this side. Okay? Not the size of the reception. Nairobi is a reception. Anybody trying to increase the number of people you can accommodate at the reception is a fool. What you need to do is ask yourself, ni nani anatamani kutoka Western akuje kukomboa nyumba na aliacha shamba yao 5 acres? If we make devolution work and if we make manufacturing work, some of the things we manufacture here like cooking oil, umeiona sunflower ikigrow Nairobi? Most of the raw materials for most of the factories in Nairobi come from the rural areas. Even the factories that are making products out of avocado, they get avocado from Murang'a. but most of them are in industrial area. If we were to make it conducive for our factories to work from Kakamega, from Murang'a, from Thika, from Kisumu, from wherever, even Mombasa, I mean, some of the people who are making coconut products are doing it from industries here in Nairobi. Even some coconut oil is being done from here. This should have been happening somewhere in Kwale. So what we need to do now, let us not develop more infrastructure in Nairobi. Let us not build more houses in Nairobi. These people actually don't even think they would want to be in Nairobi. Let us make it possible for factories to thrive where the raw materials are. If factories were to thrive where the raw materials are as opposed to industrial area, what would happen is, I am telling you, we can move a comfortable population of 1.5 million out of Nairobi. Now, when these 1.5 million people move out of Nairobi, slums begin to take care of themselves, because kuna mtu anakuanga amengoja watu wainda. Just go and watch what happens in slums. In the morning, there is a mama making mandazis, targeting people who are going to work in industrial areas.
Yes, wale wana mjengo.
In the evening, amepark on the same place, anauzia mafuta ya 5 bob nini. These are opportunistic investors who are in Nairobi because they want to support a population that is working in the industries. The minute you move these 1.5 million people who are working in industries around Nairobi, these opportunistic people who help them, about 500,000 of them, will follow them. Banks will follow them. Schools will follow them. And so many other things. What will happen? Nairobi will have a healthy population of 3 million. So instead of building more bridges, more houses, more everything, what we haven't done is we haven't taken pressure out of Nairobi. And so that's why I'm submitting to these people that their advisors are wrong. The idea of building the houses is like somebody who comes to expand a reception in a place where the main problem is not the reception, but what is happening on the back end. So drop the houses idea and start focusing on making manufacturing to work outside of Nairobi. So many people will leave Nairobi.
That's a good
and
perspective.
Finally,
yes,
because they usually say we don't make suggestions, we just criticize this government. Think about it this way. The reason the government is talking of building affordable houses, I call them avoidable because they are avoidable. You come in when the bag of cement is going for about 600 shillings. Now it's at 850. Mabati imeenda juu, misumari imeenda juu, timber imeenda juu, everything has gone up. And then you wonder why Kenyans are not building houses. If I was government, instead of building houses, by the every man naturally was born with an instinct of building a house for himself and his family. There is no man I have met who does, hata muulize kama akona dream ya kuwa na nyumba, atakwambia natamani kuwa na nyumba nyumbani na ingine. It is inherent in every man. God created us that way. Just the same way it's inherent in every female bird. They build a nest for their children. They don't need they just do it. If we make the cost of building materials affordable, Kenyans will build their own houses. Lower the taxes on cement, lower the taxes on mabati, lower the taxes on misumari, lower the taxes on all those things that we use to build. I am telling you, Kenyans will build their own houses and they will build them in the taste and style and fashion they like. Ni Mkenya mgani anataka kukaa huko juu kama ndege? Kila Mluya, wacha nikwambie ukweli. Let us explain our diversity. Kila Mluya anapenda mboma yenye akitoka nje, anaona kuku wawili watatu. Kweli ama uongo? Hata Mkisii anapenda hivyo. Mkikuyu anapenda akitoka nje atukue na pick up anena anachukua dhara, anakuja anapatia ng'ombe zake. There is no Kikuyu who slept and they had this dream that they are going to live on the 17th floor like a bird in a nest. Nobody has got that dream in this country. We have always wanted homes because we grew up in homes. In fact, the idea of apartments comes when you think about security and so many other things. So let us make the cost of building materials affordable. Kenyans will build their own houses.
Actually, I'm liking that idea, the perspective of the industrialization, like decongest the city, like make the local, those regions, Ushago, make it work a industry school. I think things will work actually.
Actually, if you've been to town, there's human traffic.
True.
You can't actually walk.
Kwanza, right now you go to town.
It's worse.
Especially with the young people. Young people have filled the city.
But you know why? Do you know why young people have filled the city? Anybody who's got the opportunity to travel outside of this country you go to Europe, you go to London, you go to Berlin, you go to most of those cities. Do you know half the city, literally, half the city is underground. The other half is what you see on the road. Unajua kushida nini hoja? Kama ulikuwa unaenda Donholm, kila mtu mwenye anaenda Donholm ako Jogoo Road. Or any other alternative road leading to Donholm.
Yes.
In Germany, for example, even in London, they've come up with a train system that takes everything underground. Hiyo tu Jogoo Road unapitia. Huko chini kuna barabara, kuna train. There's a whole life that goes on. Half the population is literally unseen and underground and moving in trains. Can we afford it? Yes. Ile pesa tuliibiwa ya SHA 104 billion would have transformed our infrastructure for Nairobi completely and totally. With 3-4 billion you can have a very good train system to one direction. At least hata tungetoa moja hata kama ni Ngong Road ama tutoe tu ya East Lando, tuseme kuna ka train unaingianga pale pale kwa statue ya Kimathi because ni two stairs tu na kanaendanga kanajipata Donholm. It is possible.
It is possible.
Problem is, again, whom do we elect into positions of leadership? And every time we have a chance at the ballot to vote for people who will transform this country, we fail. And we have a way, we are addicted to nonsense. Let me tell you something. Countries today are earning money from garbage. From their garbage. Kenya spends 362 million to maintain the Dandora dam site. We spend
362 million.
Let me excite you. I met with some people from Finland in Karen. A frustrated lot of people. And we were having a conversation and I asked them, so why are you in Kenya? And they explained to me and I felt bad. They had come to see a governor that I will not mention. We've had many governors in Nairobi. It was one of them. And they said, in Finland, the country is buying garbage from their neighbors. Now, this is ridiculous. Why? They created a power generating plant. What it does, it consumes garbage to produce electricity. So the more garbage they have, the more electricity they
produce.
So they got to a place, because garbage is their raw material, they started buying garbage. So ungeenda kwa boma unakuta mtu ana complain, fulani ameiba garbage yangu usiku. Can you imagine right now you don't want your garbage?
Yes.
But now, vita iko kwa mtaa, fulani ameiba garbage yangu. Why? Because kesho nikipea watu wa garbage watanipea kaso. Because now wanaenda wakiuza certain number of tons wanalipwa. So unaangushanga karatasi hivi kama imeokotwa. Because it adds to the weight and it brings in money. So after they had exhausted all the garbage in the country. Now they're having to buy garbage from neighboring countries because the power plant has to continue and it's producing energy. Those people had come to Nairobi. And why had they come? To start a garbage plant for making energy from Dandora. And they were asked for a bribe of 100 million.
Oh.
Sai Nairobi tungekuwa tunauza garbage. Literally, people would be paying us.
Zile pampas unakutana nazo huku.
Yes. We have an energy problem. So we need energy. We need energy. So that's our plus. We have excess garbage all over the place. We need it clean. That's a plus. We want to reduce the number of trucks roaming around. We want to make the city clean and healthy.
Those trucks are also people's business, you know?
No, but you see,
benefiting a few, yes.
It costs more to run them than we actually get as a benefit from them. So, anyway, in short, what I'm trying to say, the biggest enemy that Kenya has had is its own leaders.
Yeah, actually, before we conclude on that, there's also the issue of shared resources. The president talked about power rationing that is coming up, the shortage gap of power that we have, the sewer line system cannot accommodate the kind of buildings that they are. Leave alone even in Mkuru. It's actually, I had attended a public participation where they were trying to approve these buildings. The high rises that you're seeing in Kileleshwa, Westlands, and the residents were raising concerns. They were saying actually in Westlands, for the first time, it was along Mvuli Road. For the first time, they are getting power outrages. For the first time, their sewer line cannot hold, cannot serve the infrastructure,
yes,
cannot serve the population. They're talking about roads, right? The roads, the traffic jam that is coming up about all these structures, you're putting about 700 units up high, These are people coming to live here. garbage collection, the way my brother said. So when you look at all these factors, are we able, the northern collector, which is supposed to bring in more water for Nairobi residents, it has never kicked off. Actually, the northern collector is like it's stalled, right? So you find that this existing infrastructure and the resources, they're going to be shared among a very huge population, which will not be able to be sustainable.
Well, let's talk about the health agreement with Kenya and the US. Right now, as we speak, we saw the High Court suspended or halted the implementation of parts of the US-Kenya health agreement, specifically provisions on health data sharing and transfer. I want to hear your opinion around that. The issue of the data privacy in regards to the agreements that the country is making with other governments, and especially this one about health.
I'll tell you something. We have an institution in this country called ICIPE that was supposed to be spearheading research in very many things. And we have many other institutions in this country that have done very well in terms of research.
Like the Cambry.
Yes. All I can tell you, at some point, Kenya signed terrible deals with some governments from abroad that I wish not to mention today, that brought us expatriates to run and manage our research institutions. And we were given donor funding and conditions and grants. And the whole idea was of these expatriates was to kill any dream, any person they found who possibly could have come up with a cure for malaria, hepatitis, TB, kisonono, and so on and so forth. And before these guys were done with us in 10 years, our institutions were not capable of doing what they used to do very many years before that. Always remember that the pharmaceutical companies, many of them, are not interested in an Africa that is self-sustaining and in an Africa that is able to do its own thing. Why is our data important for them? Because then it tells them how many people have TB, how many people have, gonorrhea, how many people have syphilis, how many people are suffering from malaria. And then once they have that data, then they need to know how much of what drug to produce and in what quantities, and how they can make you more dependent on their drugs. Because there was a time when people made drugs to heal. They realized that was not good. Now, very many of them, and I'm not saying all, but very many of them make pharmaceutical drugs to create dependency. If there are two choices for me, I can create a cure for HIV, or I can create drugs that manage the condition for you. So I choose to create the ones that manage the condition for you.
To continue making
so that you're dependent on me all your life. And then I can sell it at the price that I want. Let our data be protected. It is our sovereign right to have our data protected. Let also institutions begin to work. Kenya has got brilliant people. If we just allow our researchers time and money and resources, we can be able to come up with research, even on herbal medicine. As opposed to kukutana na mtu amefunga shuka hivi anakwambia hii inaponya TB, inaponya kisonono, inaponya malaria. They sell you the same concoction that ends up killing you. Let's have, the same people with training doing research on even herbal medicine so that it is safe. And because the bulk of what they do, they still end up to the trees and so on and so forth. So I feel the deal was in bad taste. It was not good for us. It was not meant to develop the country. A country that wants to develop itself does not sell the data of its citizens. A country that wants to develop itself thinks of how they can enable their citizens to come up with solutions to the problems they have. And one of them, for example, is hygiene. When COVID came, we discovered that typhoid, diarrhea, cholera,
it's a matter of just hygiene.
It was just a matter of washing your hands and sanitizing them. And we got rid of 90% of the reasons we used to go to hospital by there for a long time. If we just keep our hands clean and, observe basic hygiene, and Kenya does not need the bulk of the medicines we are buying. And of course, we behave well to Siokot AIDS.
Victor?
That is perfect. I don't know what to add about that. Health is one of the biggest assets of a country, because a healthy nation will transform to a successful country. When you have a president traveling miles away to go and sign deals that are betraying Kenyans, that is really uncalled for, because you cannot share data for your people without knowing what this data is going to be used for. Is it going to be used to give more donations? Is it going to be used to do more research? We've been used as guinea pigs for a long time. What is this that they want to try? Look at the vaccines, about the COVID-19 vaccines. None was produced in Kenya. All of them were brought inside. Instead, the president engaging the medical team and the experts and asking them, how do we prepare ourselves for both the seen and the unseen calamities, or rather disasters like the COVID-19? How do we come up? How do we strengthen our local institutions? Have you gone to Kenyatta? There is so much that has been wastage of resources. Actually, if you go to the backside of Kenyatta, there is so much space which is not even occupied. That space can be built up, and then you come up with research institutions. There's a lot which needs to be done in this country. The president used to travel each and every week? He was on the skies until we called him the flying president. He ought to have learned something from those countries, not to come and auction wherever he can auction to the other countries, but what ideas can he plagiarize, or rather can he import from those places and bring them here so that the systems can work? Look at India. They are so advanced in the medical field. If you go right now, we had a patient, right now go to Mbagathi Hospital and see the quality of medication or medical services there. One machine, and sometimes that machine does not even work. And we have a president who is going to sign deals outside so that he can transact. I don't know whether his donations is being given or whatever it is. I think what the president needs to do, he needs to be patriotic. Sometimes when you hold a position like being the president of a country, don't act as if you are in between enriching yourself, at whatever cost, versus leading your country. Lead your country with passion, and know that when you go outside there, they view you as a Kenyan.
Actually, you got me thinking, Ama, is it too much? The things that you people want the president to do, issues za research, ukipita huko industrialization, ukipita huko. And actually, we have seen the president has been, of late, by then, has been so busy, moving across the different regions, launching different projects, and especially roads and other projects. Again, you also got me thinking about, I think when this deal came, I think they were so excited about it because, first of all, we are talking of it killing the issue of funders, funding the NGOs. Yeah? So I think the government felt like this is an opportunity for the government now to be the one dealing directly with these foreign countries. So I think they were looking at the beneficial part of it, such that they forgot kwamba kuna some things which are important.
There is one thing I want to tell you, and I want to shed light on this. I've been in politics sometimes, and I've seen a few things. When my brother talked about a team from Finland which came to meet a governor, and the governor was asking for kickbacks of 100 million, this is how it works. This governor knows he has a contract of 5 years in this country. He's not sure about re-election. So it's about how much can I make in these 5 years? Before. Same to these projects in Mukuru where people were, you are taken to a building and then photos are taken, fireworks go up, it's in the media is paid, and then they air the story. You are taken back to your slums in the evening, and then tomorrow again you are brought back. Hii inaitwa vipindi, right? You're going to act as kid. You're going to create a perception that there's something affordable has worked, right? And Kenyans, when they read about it and see in the newspapers, they say, Ruto is working. You guys are saying this president is not working. He's the only president who has launched affordable houses. And when you look at those photos that they put ahead, it has to show several units. So that tells you it's working. But when you come to the finer details about it, you will find out that person who was taken to the other side to act this kit, they will be given 200 shillings, they'll given 1,000 shillings, and they will go back to Mukuru. Now, when the president goes out there, and these other leaders, not just the president, even governors, when they go out there and something has come, or let's just take this example. You go to the community, you want to introduce a project there, and then you have to meet the chief, the local authority. The first thing they ask you, which organization is this? I used to work with an organization called TICA, Trust for Indigenous Culture and Health. So wherever we go there, the first thing they ask you, which organization is this? You say TICA. You people must be having some goodies, you know. The first thing is that what are you giving us so that we can give you access to the community?
To serve the community.
To serve the community. So the same has replicated to the presidency, where when the president goes out, first of all, sit down. What do we have from this deal, right? Even before we talk about the terms and everything, what are we getting? So we've quantified life into money. We've commercialized everything in this country until we've lost that touch with nature. We've lost that touch with our heritage. When the president goes out there to sign these deals, same to the national loans, the national debt that we have. These loans, sometimes when you look at the terms, you wonder, did these people read them even before signing them? They don't care. All they look at is what percentage are we getting. We don't know who is going to be in this position tomorrow. So we must part way with something today for my family, I, myself, and I. That is the kind of problem that
I'd like to say. Actually, there's something I would like to say this evening here on Radio Generation before we end that whole story on health. I was looking online. Some doctors in this country, literally, they run one of the hospitals in this country. In fact, there are many hospitals that are run by Asians.
Yes.
So I will not mention the hospital, but they run a hospital and they are Asians in this country. And they have been congratulated online the other day because they got honorary doctorate degrees from a United Graduate Seminary College in the US. Actually, if you Google right now and type that name, you will find that is held as one of the fake universities in this country. Now, somebody comes and tells you, I am Dr. So-and-so. And that person is a Mhindi. And he's running one of the big hospitals in this country. Sitaitaja kwa leo. Mwende kwa mtandao muangalie mutakuta. Some guys from those Asian communities who are getting these funny doctorate degrees. That person comes and tells you he's a doctor. And he has a doctorate from the United Something Seminary College in the US. And now that person is running a hospital. Now, those are the kind of brains that we are using to run this country. So as we speak about what is going wrong in this country, one of the things we must address is that issue of fake degrees. And the reason we are saying we need to address it is because those are the guys who are about to become your next governors. Governor munataka degree, I go and get an honorary degree. Governor munataka hii, I go and get an honorary degree. So the Ministry of Education has to help us. And for you to put this even in context, KJSEA imetoka. I'm seeing children who had 42 points going to national schools and children who had 59 points going to extra county schools.
What are you saying?
Yes, because nobody understands KJSEA. Nobody understands this nonsense. Of
someone with 42? Okay,
points.
42 points is someone... that is
I don't know what criteria they're using. What has happened?
Is it approaching?
42, the normal one, 42 should be a C.
What has happened?
Yeah, that is approaching expectations.
What has happened is... you see, this is an experiment. Nipata potea. Bahati nasibu. Our parliamentarians, I told you, make laws that never affect them. That's why they don't have a problem. None of their children is in this system. Usidanganywe. That is why whatever you say goes. Hawana shida nayo. In fact, even if you say children are going to study upside down, wabunge wanaulizanga kuna mtoto wako kwa hii system? Hapana.
Even the CS.
So what is happening is the schools that had prepared themselves for science-oriented subjects, I don't know, others for arts, others for whatever, some of them ended up being national schools. And some ended up being extra county. So you might be very good at sciences, but it's gone to a school that... So you are finding, mtu anakuambia nimeitwa Alliance, unaangalia results zake, na mwingine anakuambia kwenye ameitwa, you check the results. It's not making sense. We are doing a terrible experiment on our children. And parents have begun to receive letters. Today someone called me, I even have the messages here. Unajuana na mtu Nairobi school. Mimi nataka mtoto wangu aende Nairobi school because ameitwa shule ingine. I mean, your child, you specifically said you live in Nairobi. Anaitwa day school iko Kisii. Sasa mtoto atakuwa anapanda school bus, anaenda Kisii asubuhi, anarudi jioni, ama what is supposed to happen.
So there are chaos already in the
allowing
system.
Common sense to prevail is something that this administration has a problem with. And so now you have a situation whereby mtoto wako ameitwa national school, but ameitwa national school na iko Kisii. That is okay because it's a boarding school. Mwingine ameitwa day school na iko Murang'a na munaishi Tala. So you try to do the maths, you try to check what reasoning they had. It's not making sense at all. And so those are the things we are saying as a country as we go into this now Christmas. Kuna wazazi wanaenda na stress. First, university funding model was made something else. 2, capitation to high school is not working. So parents wako na stress. By the way, ni Christmas moja iko na stress sana. Ukiona watu wanaenda Ocha, walikuwa wamepanga kwenda Mombasa, lakini sasa wamebadilisha wanaenda Ocha. Mwende tu mkae huko mujifiche landlord kidogo. Those few days hoping that January will bring something good.
That's chaotic. But and again we are still heading to Singapore.
Okay.
We are still heading to Singapore. That's the question.
On a wheelbarrow.
Yeah,
because heading to Singapore on a wheelbarrow.
Because again, the biggest question actually is right now we are talking of actually the latest news that we've been having for the past like 1 or 1 month is that the issue of drought, the effects of drought, especially in the northeastern and other eastern region and other places, whereby now the little that Kenyans have in terms of the cattle and whatever they are dying. You see, and again we are heading to Singapore. So I'm still having a lot of questions that there are some people who are heading to Singapore with empty stomachs. Others with no clothes.
Well, I think I can comment on that very quickly. The first one is that I was in a place called, it's in Kajiado County.
Yes.
A place called, is it Naiseri? It's somewhere in Kajiado County. And I found out that people are doing irrigation. And actually people have planted things like onion. There's also oranges and so on. So this tells you that amid this drought, there are measures that the government can put in place to ensure that there is food security, to ensure that our livestock is, is well taken care of, other than being exposed to drought and, they die. So it's something that can be managed. Look at Israel; they're giving us msaada, and yet it's a
country in the desert.
In a desert. So
yes.
It's about the mindset. The mindset of taking us to Singapore. Singapore, I think the president, when he talks about Singapore, he was talking about also coming to launch this Mukuru, buildings. So wherever those high-rise pictures are taken behind him, and he's there, and then they bring the picture of the infrastructure in Singapore, they say now this is Singapore. Let me tell you, a person who lives in Kilimani, there's the owner of that building in Kilimani,
yes,
and there's the servant in that house in Kilimani. Those are two very different people.
Yeah.
The Kenyan, what is the economy of a Kenyan? Leave alone the bigger picture about a government, about the country. What is that picture about the normal Kenyan, the real Kenyan who is really struggling in the streets? So Singapore is not an infrastructure. Singapore composes a lot of things. We talk about safeguarding our cultural heritage, our health. If we are not healthy, we cannot get to Singapore, right? Our education system is in a mess. Our brother has explained about, the
mix-up, yeah.
There's a lot of mix-up everywhere, and the president is not taking time. The other time he was holding a meeting with the cabinet secretaries. What does he discuss with these people? Because if I'm having a meeting with the cabinet secretary for education, I need to get a clear report about what is happening at the grassroots level, and to each and every, the clear picture about the education system in the country and what we need to do. So Singapore is not an imaginary place where you take the picture of the current Singapore and then you try to place it ahead of the Kenyan picture, and then now you want to imagine, in an utopian world that now I'm in Singapore. No, there's a lot which needs to go into it in terms of policy. What kind of policies do we have in this country?
Actually, policies.
Look at the number of graduates that we've had. There was a graduation ceremony this December. A lot of young people, we've injected more than 1 million young people who have expectations. They have energy, they have the time, they need to work. You've created a fund. I want you people to understand this. William Ruto has borrowed. Within a period of 3 years, he has been in office, 3 or so. He has borrowed from 8 trillion to 12 trillion. So that is 4 trillion, right? He has borrowed that money, but there's nothing we can have. We can talk about it. There's nothing to show for it. Now he has come with a clever idea. He has said, now we are going to create what we call an infrastructure fund. Right? This fund is just purely for infrastructure. But look at the current infrastructure that has come up since President William Ruto got to office. It has been a PPP. It's a public-private partnership. A PPP means, actually, when you dig into that PPP, you'll find out that the government contributed very little, where the private investors contributed more. Right? Now you want to create a fund worth 5 trillion. Ruto is very clever. He's doing this. He's trying to give you a reason for selling public assets. When you ask, why are we selling this, where is the money going to? The money is not going to education. The money is not going to the health sector. The money is going to the infrastructure fund. Like tunachanga.
But,
tunataka 5 trillion.
But again, okay, this infrastructure will also lay down for the foundation for.
Okay, even before you ask that,
the country being
okay, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Even before that,
yes.
Before I forget this question, we read what is our national budget for the last year? How much was it?
We're talking of, was it 4 or how many trillions?
4 trillion.
4 trillion,
yes.
Right? This money is allocated to ministries that already exist, right? This is the system of governance, of government. You've already read the national budget, which we've not met fully, right? About how many percent? 3/4 of it, we didn't even know where it was going to be gotten from, right? But now you've come out, you've left the ministries alone. Ministry ni kama hazina kazi. Sasa they're just there to maintain the government and and so on. Now you've come up with something else. You want to create an infrastructure fund.
The president says you don't understand him. You people, you don't understand him.
Oh, how did he say?
You see, first, we've not...
We have 3 minutes remaining.
President William Ruto, we never hired you so that we understand you. Full stop. We hired you so that you do what we tell you to do for us. And if Kenyans tell you their priority is university funding, they tell you their priority is to be able to afford school fees. Their priority is to be able to afford
a meal on the table.
Yes. Stop telling us about stupid infrastructure. It's not within our interest right now. What Kenyans want right now is the basics. Return back Linda Mama. A mother who is going to die giving birth, what do they need a road for? A mother who is going to die when bringing life into this country, the people you are going to tax tomorrow, and you've taken away Linda Mama. So this whole nonsense of big ideas is what we don't want. If the president was to listen to us, we would tell him, we want you to return us back to factory settings. Give us NHIF, it was working. Give us Linda Mama, it was working. First, give us back what we had that was working.
We start from there.
Then we shall give you permission to bring new ideas.
Well, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. The conversation is beginning to inataka kufly na tunamaliza jamani. Only have 2 minutes. Yes.
Yeah, when you look in 2013, the magnitude of projects that the Ruto government came up with, they were very huge. We were talking of dams, stadiums, and so on. They never fulfilled that. Now that we are going to fall for another lie of Singapore, Singapore is another term for this 5 trillion infrastructure fund. And a similar fund has been established in other countries, like in Malaysia, and it failed because it falls in the hands of individuals. That company, actually, it's a company which was registered to go and manage this. The management of this fund is going to private hands.
Well, okay. Okay, I think pengine hiyo infrastructure ndo itatengeneza dams za kuhakikisha kuna food security in the country and so many other things.
Another question, are we going to separate the national budget from the infrastructure fund?
That is now where the question is. I think up to now, we need to call it a day. We need to call it a year because we've reviewed majorly the big stories that happened in the course of the year, and maybe others we've forgotten, but no problem. Come next year, we will do better. So for tonight, thank you so much Fanyamambo for coming. Naomba kwamba utaingia these brilliant ideas tunazitaka kwa gava. So we are hoping that you're going to get that opportunity.
Mungu tasaidia.
Mungu tasaidia. Yeah, Pia, Nani, Victor, thank you so much for coming. I think thank you to the listeners and the viewers for watching and being part of this conversation. We are calling it a year up to until next year. Tutafanya tena another show next year. So for now, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy 2026. Please take care and have yourself a good night. This is